All right, what is happening, everybody? Historian D. Boomason and Dean Sound4Sound back in the house. This is session number 4, and we're going to get into some interesting things, but we hope you're all doing all right on December 13th, 2025. Yeah, man, this is session 4. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Getting into some crazy stuff because they added this new location on Little St. James, and when Dean told me about it, I was like, what the, you know what? So what's up, hey, you girl? Miss Cajones? F Fox.
How's everybody doing?
Yeah, man. And so yeah, man. We were chatting a little bit back there beforehand, but got a lot of stuff going on in your life, but you don't got any Secret Service messing with you right now, right?
Yeah, no, at least that part's calmed down. I know they got a file on me now, though. Like, how many people can say confirmed? Yeah, the Fed's got a file.
Right.
You know?
Exactly, man. It's wild, dude. But I guess the stuff you're covering, I mean, you're like over the target on stuff. I shared that little video of you finding this fish clay. So we're going to get into that. So everybody on this session 4, so we're going to get into this new location on Little St. James. And then we're going to move over to Ascension Island, which we covered, I think, a little bit on a previous episode. And then we're going to have like a little bit of viewer requests. So if anybody has certain requests, prepare those for later in the episode, and then we'll get to those and we'll have some kind of like freestyle and fun and just hang out with you guys. And anyways, let's pull up the screen and get started here, Dean.
All right.
Have you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me back, and it's always a joy being here with your crew because everybody here in this audience really does want to make a difference, and I think that's awesome. So previously, when we talked about Little St. James, I've shown people a few of the different cuts. Like we had this dog rock scar god, and it becomes a demon face. We've talked about that. And we've talked about how the island itself, when we cut it from this boat ramp, becomes a Baphomet. Now, they previously, after we started making noise about it, they added this location here, Big E's Boat Rentals. And for a short period, you could put photos up and write reviews like it was any other establishment. I don't know who opened it. But within 4 days of me posting this image to the reviews, it got pulled down. And then a few days later, this location, Fish Clay, pointed up here. And just like the boat ramp, I realized that they were telling us Fish K was also a solve for a more wide-horned Baphomet. And now he's kind of got like this double chin going on here with the eyes here, and the smile. So I don't think the person who posted this did this on accident. I think this was intentional.
Right.
Personally. And you can see, like, if you zoom in, there's definitely some imagery going on in the subliminal back here in the background of the image. And when we looked at, and now it's still up, but I don't know for how long. You see a lot of people are posting here. It's only been up for what, like a week maybe now. But
what doesn't make any sense? I mean, what's the activity like on Little St. James? I mean, I can't imagine there's really much going on there. So all of a sudden they just add this new location onto Google Earth or Google Maps, if you will. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, and that's the other part where I don't know how to find out, like, when you go to look at what is at this location. It's called a tourist attraction, but when you look at it, a lot of these reviews are just people memeing. They're just making jokes about it, but some of these people are most certainly active members of the cult that are having a laugh, like trying to blend into the crowd, so to speak. And that's, how do you tell who's who when it's things like this that I was talking about before on my channel, where Roblox is a game about the cube worship, and they're doing a joke like this not because it's just innocent kid shit, but because it's a game about where pedophiles go to Rome to get in with kids.
Right.
It's a very popular game for kids, Roblox, apparently. It's new generation stuff, not from mine, but from my understanding, just like with any other chat room where kids are present, you're going to find these kinds of predators, and my advice to parents is don't let kids play games that you're not aware of exactly who they're playing with. Make sure you meet their online friends.
Right. Well, it's crazy that kids could even stumble on to places like, I mean, they can stumble on to wherever the heck they want to go now with all the porn and stuff on there, even on various public platforms like X. But I was thinking like what you're seeing there in the comment section in these locations is kind of like what I've heard or seen a little bit on 4chan, where it's a mixture of normal people and then operatives, and 4chan riddled with FBI, Mossad, all kinds of people that are there for a purpose to plant certain information to hope some influencer grabs it and runs with the narrative.
No, I definitely think you're right about that, where there's like, and especially on 4chan nowadays, maybe not so much in like 2014, 2015, they were present, but nowadays almost every post on there is just mind-boggling. It's all glows in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully the kids don't really know what's going on, but subliminally and all that kind of stuff. But it's like I can't even go on the Google Maps and scroll around.
I mean, and
sick
that's the
world, bro. It's a sick world.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it's one of those things where when I first saw the whole thing with the Roblox image, it reminded me immediately, and I can't go anywhere else to show this because unfortunately he deleted his account, but when I go to Matt Beams, the first person who I found posting images on Google Maps that I thought was suspicious, this David Miller guy, he had been not only to the Roblox Corporation, but to the Roblox 910 headquarters. Like he'd only been to 5 places, and those were 2 of them. So to me, that was it does kind of add more to it when you know that Roblox is something that is significant. It's like a code language to them about the cube, because it comes back to the cube of Saturn, or the cube that you see Baphomet sitting on, or the cube of the shape of Epstein's temple.
Right, or the cube that we've seen in a more recent tour, Taylor Swift standing on. Have you seen that? Where she's freaking rocking on a black cube?
I have not seen it, but I have heard.
All you gotta do is Google or like look it up. You'll find it. It's like crazy. She at a concert is on a black cube.
Oh yeah, no, this is the exact kind of thing that they do. And even if you look, like there's a rune etched into the bottom of it, like no, that's exactly the kind of thing these people are involved in. And people go, that's just to support Beams, and they're like, okay.
No, man, learn the culture. Go check Mecca, like how they worship, and they do they even like walk around it. What is it, counterclockwise or something like that? And they have ceremony.
They circumambulate around it, and they it's just like the Ring of Saturn. And a lot of this,
and this is like the #1 pop star today. Taylor Swift is like the biggest shit, and like that includes getting into every area. That includes your kids. That includes, I mean, the kids love her, and so a new one's coming up. I'm sure there's other ones, but Taylor Swift, I don't know how old she is now, but she's already a billionaire, and she's doing all the things. I mean, like she started out country western, and now she's alternative pop. Maybe a little bit of Western, I don't know, but she's in so many different genres, and then she gets into the household easily because she looks like that friendly face, the girl next door, whatever you want to call it. And she is literally doing all the satanic things. And now she's even in the NFL because with her and her
with her husband, right?
Travis Kelce, it's like she's fucking everywhere, man.
Yeah, and that's kind of how the game operates too. Is when they have those unions, it's for the benefit of the two of them to climb the ladder.
Right.
This is the kind of thing where with any musician, but particularly somebody as famous as Taylor Swift, the first thing I'd tell everybody to do is check their album covers, man. You flip them and just look at the mirror, and you're going to see so many images that you're just going to have an eyebrow raise about. And when you do, and you start to notice these things that they've hidden down in the subliminal, you're going to have questions, and they're not going to be able to answer those questions because you're already going to know the answer deep down, and no amount of bullshit that they tell you is going to cut it. when you catch them doing things like that everywhere they go, there's only so many plausible reasons, conclusions we can come to or draw from that, you know? But
yeah, talking about Baphomet with Fish Clay, there's a case to be made, I guess, for Taylor Swift being a man. How does she stay so slender?
a lot of, yeah, it's one of those ones where a lot of people have said that. I don't know. I would sometimes I see a certain angle of the face. I'm like, you know what, maybe I could see it. I don't know, but as far as like knowing which one's gonna be trans or not, I don't really think it matters what gender the Luciferian is, because it means that they're a pedophile who believes in cannibalism. So, you know, they all belong in the same place.
Right, and she looks just like Anton LaVey's sister. What was her name? I've shown that before. Anton, or did she marry into the LaVeys? Let me look it up. You keep rocking it on.
Okay.
Xena Shrek was her name.
You wanna?
If you want, since you got it pulled it up, it's ZEENA SC.
It's one of the. It's like the second search. Yeah, they do look similar. Oh wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, so like that's the idea, is that maybe she's an offspring of her. Some say it's like a satanic ritual where maybe she was born on a satanic, like with however they get this person's consciousness to go into that person. It's almost like this LeVay's chick's consciousness goes into her. I don't know how it works. I guess you'd have to see when this chick died, but it looks like they used genetics from her at least.
It definitely is. It's very interesting that they do look that similar.
But you see this with certain ones like Nicolas Cage, Jay-Z. You see like these old pictures of people. Ellen DeGeneres looks like this older guy, like from like a picture that's black and white. You see this, and then some of them have called it the Mannequin Project, where they have like multiples of these, or maybe that's a different one. I get them mixed up. Either way, you'll see pictures of some of these celebrities that some of the celebrities look alike, and that's the mannequin where they're born at the same time. I think that's that project where they have them and they're similar. Like you even have a female that kind of looks like the male counterpart. Heath Ledger had one, but I can't remember which one she is. But in this case, this is something where it's like passed down, and it's like they're bringing back the same consciousness, or that's the hope, I guess. But then the similarities in the looks like they're using some kind of, I don't know if it's cloning or genetic just material in the whole thing, but they look a lot alike, man.
It is very interesting when you look at it from that perspective. I couldn't tell you why or how that happens. But I do think it is, especially when you have it as a recurring pattern, right? That's when it definitely becomes interesting, where it's not just one celebrity that really has this. It's more than just a handful of them that we've heard this about.
Yeah. Whatever they're doing, it's either completely psyops, or they're using their military tech that we have no idea about, or who knows? I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. There's a lot of different ideas on a lot of these various people.
I think the one thing that, you know, when it comes to these kinds of conspiracies and things like this, it's something where it becomes very difficult to get that definitive proof. Right. Even the stuff that I deal in, like phonetic reversal and the ciphered reflections and things like that, it is very difficult to come out and go, yes, 100%, we can definitively say this person is such and such. Until people have a proper understanding of how the input output happens for these processes, it's all left in that same realm of ambiguity where people they're not sure about it. Some people are, some people aren't, you know? I think the trick would be for a lot of this is to kind of sift through what we can actually like go out and scrutinize and what we can't. And that's, I don't know. That's kind of why I try to steer clear of figuring out which of these people are trans and which of these people are clones or things of that nature, because a lot of it we're never going to know. You know, even if we got them in the court of law and we had them under oath, they're never going to come out and admit some of this stuff, you know?
Right. But we do know that they love to do it. I mean, yes. You got this Fish Clay thing where when you make that cut, it shows a Baphomet. You got the male and the female counterpart. They love androgynous. They don't want the two sexes. God made two sexes. They want to combine them, or they want to manipulate them, and then they want to transhumanism them eventually and fucking destroy whatever we were that made us human.
I think when we look at their religious, belief system, there's definitely, like you said, the Baphomet is both male and female, and that's definitely something they do. We see certain people like Michelle Obama where they've gotten caught out on Ellen DeGeneres, and their penis pops out of their dress.
Right.
So, or like, why did Joan Rivers have them killed? I think or rather, why did they have Joan Rivers killed? I think it's just, it's things like that where some of these candidates, we definitely know it's something they do. We definitely know it's something they practice. We definitely see people in the music industry referencing cloning and mind control and things of this nature in their music videos all the time.
Yes.
The symbolism is all in our face at this point. It's very much so that somebody pointed out recently, like, it's so in our face that people become numb to it because it's so, like, when you see somebody on MTV giving Satan a lap dance, and that's just another day in America, like, people are spiritually numb to how dangerous these symbols are and what they actually implicate and what they mean, because most people don't understand what does it actually mean to be a Luciferian. What does that kind of religious practice entail? Recently, there was a video that came out. A couple of Jews were interviewing one of the rabbis that got caught in the big tunnel incident in New York City.
Right.
And the guy came out, and they were trying to get him to say it was, feces on the mattress and not blood. But the guy came out and said, no, it was blood. And we were performing rituals down there. And sometimes they involved a recently deceased person that we were trying to bring back from the dead to prove they were the Messiah or not. And, like, whenever somebody asked him, the other guy, even one of the young Jews, I give him credit, he was asking the hard question, which was like, so what does that ritual entail? And of course, I was like, well, I don't want to get into specifics. I don't want to talk exactly what's going on with this. But there were rituals going down there, and that was more than I expected the chutzpah on him to say. So, they aren't really hiding what's going on anymore.
Right. I don't think they really are hiding it at all anymore. They've got enough of the masses, at least the people that do this stuff online, the red pillars and the Q people and all this kind of stuff. They've got them completely on, like, fantasy land. And then they've got the majority of people. I like having these conversations because I like to try to, like, just because I know they do this. So you try to figure out, because Victoria's Secret models, most of them are now male, and they are putting them in front of us. A lot of the actresses and the actors have been swapped so that we are attracted to the opposite sex without even knowing it. They've done these things for years now, but those are things that are tougher for us to actually just break down. What you're doing here, that's why I like getting back to this basic stuff. It's the same thing with, like, stuff like Mike Gill. I know you're not maybe too familiar with him, but just getting to the stuff that we can understand and know. I released certain stuff today, exposing more of, like, the Flynn Network and Pizzagate and some of the psyops surrounding that, or at least the characters put in place to make it even more extreme than it needed to be, so that makes everybody that looks into that or talks about it crazy. That's Liz Crokin and some of these characters like Laura Logan. Their whole job is to become the gatekeeper of that, and then to spread further misinformation that is so extreme and so stupid that people that look in on it don't ever even want to care to learn the information, even though we know the Finders cults, we know some of these scandals, the Franklin scandal, some of the other stuff I've been posting on the YouTube, the Sununu Youth Detention Center being a more recent one. This stuff is obviously going on all the time. They don't even hide the numbers. 800,000 children go missing every year alone in United States as one country a year. That doesn't even take into account all the other countries. It's crazy, man. So this stuff's real. So what you can do is go in here and literally go to these sites. You can go and we've done phonetic reversals and stuff in the music, but even this is even easier because these photographers and the way they do this is they have the mind of knowing how they want to portray something and how it needs to be angled in order for them to get the picture they want. I look at some of these pictures like what you show, and when at first glance it's like, why would they even post something like that? And then you take it, even though that guy looks like he's demon possessed back there. Could just be the way the flash hit him. But anyways, you take these photos that look like normal photos, like on like places like Google Earth in certain locations, and they tell you the story. They communicate something to you. And it's the cult talking to each other.
Yeah, a lot of it is, just knowing that there's religious obligations that these people have, and there's religious communications that they are bound to use. And one of the reasons why I don't really watch a lot of politics, I don't consume the news in the way a lot of people do, is because when you know they're lying to you, when you know they're out there with the intention to deceive, when you know that they are most certainly, hiding their real persona from the public and trying to cover their tracks, things like this. Like, I mean, come on, this guy was being obvious as hell. But I don't tune into these people. I'd much prefer just supersede them and go right above their head and go, okay, well, here's here's who you are based on your own photography, based on your own phonetics, and knowing the ciphers. And that's, I don't know why it's very trendy, I guess, to for a lot of people, especially in the alt-right right now. They're all kind of like bickering amongst themselves. They all have their favorite preferred talking heads, and all of their talking heads are in the same club. They're all in the same party. They're all in the same, friend group. And they pretend to be angsty with each other for a period, and then they're friends again, and then they're angsty, and the masses eat it up. And meanwhile, nothing actually gets resolved.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, is distraction. A lot of the other stuff that we cover on this channel, having to do with the biodigital convergence, I think that a lot of it is distraction while the transhumanist agenda comes in. I don't know if you pay any attention to any of that stuff, and you don't. I mean, what you're doing here is nice because you have an outsider's point of view. So when we get to the end of this and we have people that want to throw out requests and stuff, and there's various characters we could look into, you have no bias because you don't know who the fuck they are. So that'll help. But when you look at the biodigital convergence and all the data centers that are going in and how fast this shit is still going at warp speed, basically, with Trump at the helm, with the technocrats and all this bullshit, like, you see something changing, AI rolling in faster than anything I've ever seen. And people that have been alive to see planes become a normal thing, to see the car change from the horse and buggy and all this shit in not too long a time. And this is probably still the fastest and the craziest shit that we've ever seen. Talking about a golden dome and autonomous vehicles, and you're wirelessly connecting every single fucking thing. Your toaster can be a smart toaster. Your fridge is a smart fridge. Everything's fucking like talking to you. It's fucking crazy, bro.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of that, where they definitely, I mean, technology is both a blessing and a curse in that it makes our lives a lot easier and a lot more convenient. But in that convenience comes complacency, and complacency is the breeding ground for corruption to snare its roots in. And that's one of the reasons why I say, like, there is a limit. I think we talk about AI and how we can use it to our benefit and everything else. I think the problem is we don't have the power of creating the parameters in which AI are allowed to function. The way these heads of companies, these heads of the technology institutes like Grok with Elon, right? We're not going to be able to say, once upon a time, back with Grok 3, I was able to have a conversation with Grok and have him tell me that Epstein's temple was a temple of Moloch and Ishtar. And we had a reasonable conversation about it. And by the time I was done doing my breakdown that I did in the first episode, he was convinced enough to say, oh yeah, that actually makes sense. But now, good luck. You can't have that anymore.
Yes, there was a period of time where AI was like telling on itself.
Yeah.
Because it was programmed to tell a little, information. And then now they've had to like steer it, where they've changed Grok. They've made, I don't know where they're at, 4.0 or whatever they call it now. But yes, this is all headed to a certain direction. One of the questions that we've raised on this channel, and with some of this discussion, not just on this channel, but people that are having these discussions and having legit ones, that seems to be very rare, is whether or not AI is actually already in control. So if you think of Satan, you know, Satan's not able to be everywhere at all times. Only God can do that. But if Satan wants to be everywhere, what's the best way to do it? With this fucking technology that allows him to peer into every corner, that he can get a camera, to be able to have the kind of technology, whether it's drone technology, satellites, smart dust, and all this kind of stuff, and beam into any location at his desire. This is Satan, like, setting up the whole Prince of the Air situation here in a way where Satan can be at all places at all times to a degree.
Yeah, it's trying to recreate omniscience and omnipresence. You know,
right?
It's
that's part of this. Black cube, black goo, less empathy, less human emotion, more just IQ and intelligence, and get out all the human that you can from this place and get rid of whatever the design was that God wanted here. And then God loves his creation. God loves what we were made in the image of God. So Satan hates us. So he wants to recreate us in his image. I mean, Satan's image. That's what Satan wants to do.
I mean, it's a lot of it stems down to just a bad case of jealousy, actually. I've
pride and jealousy.
That. Yeah, and a lot of these people, it's the same thing, even amongst themselves. Like, you think these people all cream of the crop and stuff. Well, not you specifically. Obviously, your audience knows not you, but a lot of people out there who view up on celebrities and like the masses, they view these people like they're better, and then these people start to think themselves better than the masses, but then amongst themselves, they're jealous, petty little whores. And they're all trying to get one up each other constantly. A good example of this is like Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo on CNN. They used to do this shit all the time, not even being subtle. But you see it on like with Greg Gutfeld and Jesse Waters when they were competing for that prime time spot. They would always throw shade at each other and start getting jealous and petty with each other, and their true nature starts to shine through when that kind of behavior lines out.
Right.
But it's all stems back from like they are like Satan is. They're jealous, prideful creatures, and that's why when you poke them a little bit, you make fun of them and belittle them, they cannot stand it. They love getting taken seriously, and they hate it when you guys laugh at them and mock them and scoff at them the way they do you. But you know, I was looking through some of the photos here as we were going by. I'm confident that some of these were posted by them. Like this one's subtle. It's obvious cube worship, though. This is a reference. Again, this is from a game called Minecraft, and it's funny how two very, very popular games in children's media both kind of revolve around this cube theme.
And you're saying, so this is all from Fish Clay, right? And they've all been posted within the last, whenever that Fish Clay got posted.
This one, yeah, it was posted December 2025. All of these photos are from reviews on Fish Clay. Some of them were added, like this one. I don't know why they put Charlie Kirk like this, but it's called Mystical and Bookie. Or Bookie, and I think this is the only thing he's posted. So that's weird. That is weird. And it's one of those things where like, you expect some of this to an extent when a location like this appears because it's the internet. But the problem is you don't know which is which. And when you find them doing photos like this and you highlight that this is the eye and then this is the mouth, and they're hiding images in here that they don't anticipate people to see. Like I was pointing out with this one here, the Minecraft reference, it's comes back to this whole cube worship and recognizing that the cube is a significant symbol to these people because of the Baphomet, because of Ishtar, and because of Saturn. Specifically, being able to know which gods they worship and things like that kind of changes the tone of a lot of this. And you may not see it right away, but if you zoom in, there's an eye up here where the shade changes just a little bit.
This is Dean of Sound4Sound. You didn't know? He's like well known all over the world now. No, yeah. This is Dean. Dean Biscuits actually found Dean. Biscuits had been watching his work for a while. You hadn't been able to gain much traction. oftentimes because you're not part of a network, and you're not part of their whole how they build people up and give even false numbers in order to make it appear as though you're growing fast. But Biscuits observed Dean in the way that he does this work. He does phonetic reversals, you know, stuff like the more common ones that you'll find in like Stairway to Heaven, where they reverse it and it's My Sweet Satan. We did one with Obama where it was like, yes, you can. And what was it in reverse?
Was it Hail Satan or
it's Hail Satan?
Yeah.
Hail, yes, you can. Hail Satan.
Yes, we can. I'm gonna check it real quick so I know. Oh, what? Why isn't it playing?
Can't hear the audio on it.
Oh, you know what? I forgot when I shared my screen, I was supposed to share the audio. Don't worry about it.
But yes, that's so Dean does something differently than pretty much anybody that I've found, because a lot of people do focus on some of the things that get into a little bit more of the woo-woo land, which I love. I appreciate the woo-woo. However, it should not be like the majority of our focus, because we need to look at things that are easily provable. Dean was mentioning earlier about how a lot of stuff's been sensationalized and people are numb. Like what they did in the truth movement is they flooded our minds with, and Gene was like a master of this in the sense that he's like a sick, twisted dude, would put imagery in your head. So Gene was the one that said that he had seen Frazzle Drip. I'm telling you right now, the guy never actually saw it. He might have heard somebody talk about it. He might have read a paragraph about how someone described it. Whether it's real or not, I don't know. It was actually called Frazzle RIP, RIP. It wasn't called Frazzle Drip in the beginning, so it even got changed as far as the name goes. I'm not saying they don't do that shit, because you look at the Wilson Ball on like Castaway and the shirts that Jay-Z and Ellen DeGeneres were wearing. Sure, yes, okay. I'm telling you, Gene didn't see that, whether it was Hillary Clinton and Huma. That's the thing. They sensationalized it, though, and made your imagery in your head all these ideas, so much so that it numbed a lot of us to it. Not that we aren't still caring of the children, but it's sensationalism for the sake of numbing us to it. That's what Hollywood's done over time. It went from like, you know, your imagination being part of a horror movie to now they literally show like prosthetics, but they're cutting it, blood's flying everywhere. You got the Saw movies. I don't know if they're still doing The Hills Have Eyes and all those disgusting ones, but they're literally like showing these are the stuff. And so, it's like they're desensitizing people to this thing. And it's the same thing with video games. Real quick. So a lot of people's kids love Minecraft. Exactly. Yeah. That's what they do. They do it in video games. They do it in music. That's why we were saying Taylor Swift, she gets into your kid's room and posters on the wall and albums and all her merch and all that kind of stuff, because she seems like the wholesome girl. Not so. We just showed dancing on the cube of Saturn, the black cube. And then you have Minecraft. It's cube worship. Same thing.
Yeah.
They're freaking geniuses.
It's a common theme. And I will say, you know, on the Frazzle Drip subject, you're right, it was frazzle.rip. And then a lot of people said that video went out. I say that nobody has actually seen it except for those people who were in the NYPD during that period, during the investigation when Anthony Weiner's laptop was taken by Obama at the time, his FBI.
Right. We're not even sure if it was just that video, but it was probably a bunch of disgusting videos that were on it.
And the thing that I think was very interesting that lended credence to the claim was when Sidney Powell went out there, and a lot of people have mixed views of her because of her relationship with General Flynn and the Q movement and all of that. And but the one thing I found very interesting was she went on the record saying that, which was already leaked on 4chan, 2 veteran investigators of the NYPD saw the footage that was on that life insurance folder, and they vomited it upon seeing it. And, you know, that they had to basically be put into care to make sure they didn't pursue wrath against the people involved that were on that tape. So,
right. And here's what I'll say real quick is that, yes, Sidney Powell is completely, I don't know if it's blackmail with Flynn and his freaking squad. I don't think Flynn's the height. I think Flynn's just another puppet. But whoever's above him is very powerful. It's arguable. I put out some more information today that it goes all the way up to Knights of Malta. Knights of Malta leading into the or part of the OSS, or the OSS became the CIA. Either way, yes, Sidney Powell, in my estimation, completely compromised. But these people tell the truth as well.
They have to.
What kind of a horror show is it to wake up to human trafficking, like what the Q movement did, what Sidney Powell did here, what some of these people do by giving you the truth, and then there's no fucking justice? That is called gaslighting. That is like torturous, where you put it out there and then act like with all your influencers, justice is happening behind the scenes in secret, or it's happening soon, or it's going to be made known soon, and it never happens and it never comes. That is demoralization. That is using the truth to harm people, because we never get any kind of closure. No family members have gotten closure over 9/11. Any of these tragedies in Haiti, the children that go missing, all this stuff, man. The ways that they do this is by putting out the truth, because I believe that Wiener laptop had some stuff on there. And what did Wiener did? Wiener did a little bit of time, and then he was out. He's been on podcasts. He's fucking free.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what happens with these people. Like Chris Cuomo and his brother should both have gotten hung for treason after COVID. And a lot of these, Ted Cruz should have gotten put feet first into a wood chip after he said protect pedophiles. Like there's a lot of that happens where these people are out here making very clear inclinations, no uncertain terms. This is who they play for. This is the team that they're on. And then you have little movements like this sprout up where it's like, oh, Thomas Macy and Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're going to get us the answers. I said that was a psyop the whole fucking time that they were in office because, I did the mirror flips, and everybody else said, well, we want to have these two people. These are our Rand Pauls or Ron Pauls that aren't going to sell out to AIPAC, and they're going to be the ones to get us justice on the child trafficking. No, she resigned because they threatened her, right? No, because she was always on the payroll. And that's the problem with when all of your politicians are in on it and they continuously. What's up, Biscuits? Good to see you, man.
But yes, keep going, brother.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, when we have this many politicians who come out here and they fake justice, they fake like they're gonna give us the answers. There's only one explanation for that. They are stalling out, and they're stalling out with a specific purpose in mind.
Right. And I just released a video today, and some of it's older. I think the videos were made by a woman. I think her name was Lala, but regardless, she put out some great work against Flynn and the network and exposed a lot of things. She showed an old video. Marjorie Taylor Greene came into politics on the back of Q.
Yeah,
Marjorie Taylor Greene was a QAnon, like she was all about Liz Crokin. She was all about QAnon stuff and going on, and then became elected. And people forget that. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene came in on a fucking psyop. Now look at her.
And that's exactly that's the whole point of this, where it's like, how many times do the American people want to fall for this? Oh, we're going to get you the answers. That we don't need the government anymore to teach us these things. We don't need the list. We don't need them to give us these files, because we can now have more accurate ways of identifying which of them are part of the same religion. And once you have that, you'll know which of them are lying to you, and they won't be able to lie to you anymore.
It's pretty much all of them. I mean, at one point we were saying like 98%. Like I think that was Julian Assange, and some people even say Julian Assange was part of a psyop. Regardless, whatever all this shit is, because we've had psyop upon psyop, and I think everything could be a positive or negative psyop, I guess, in a way. But I don't see how anybody, at least the ones that go to DC, how any of them cannot be a part of it at this point. Like they don't, it's almost like they do not allow people to come in. And I've done some work, and I just released some more that I did previously with a guy that goes by Gray Area Monarch. And you don't even have to care. Like, some people have ups and downs about every different various person that exposes stuff, but he claims, along with another guy, Nathan Reynolds, to have been raised up in these programs. And anyways, the claim is because of the way that they're raised up in it. Pedophile stuff happens to them. They feel like they're fighting pedophiles and doing good, but when they're really just being sent on assassination missions with bad intel, because they think they're doing the right thing. Regardless of how they're mind controlled, every single person that we see that goes into a public office has been groomed into that position.
Yes, I would almost definitively agree with that. And normally I wouldn't try to like agree with such a broad stroke statement, but honestly, I've looked at 100 different senators in Washington, D.C. I have looked at all of their public photography, and out of 100 senators, Republican and Democrat alike, 100 sitting senators are doing devil worship in the broad day.
Right. You haven't found one, right? Like, please tell me if you ever actually find one where you're like, I can't find one. And like anything on them. Like, they're all fucking controlled. Even these influencers. I think these influencers are the same way. These influencers are just as powerful today as Hollywood was a decade ago.
Yes.
Well, Hollywood's still influential to some degree because you got the boomers and you got some of my generation and older. We still love, we were raised on that. Now I don't love Hollywood anymore, but a lot of people in the normie class, if you will, are still going to watch Hollywood movies. And I still appreciate cinema that challenges my mind and like puts you in ethical, difficult situations, dramas, or just action. Sometimes I gotta watch 300 just to tell myself to stop being a pussy, like that kind of stuff, you know. But social media influencers now are more powerful than the Hollywood people because they have followings that dwarf a lot of the actors.
And a lot of that stems from the illusion that a lot of people believe these influencers to be more authentic and homegrown rather than groomed up in Hollywood. The unfortunate truth of it, though, is that most e-celebrities out there are just like you said. They're just like the regular celebrities of old. A good example of this was recently I was making a joke with the backmask of that song, the Bedtime and Tutor song from Antoine Donson and the Gregory Brothers. I was making a joke because it starts with, obviously, we have a rapist in Lincoln Park. And I was making a joke about Mike Shinoda. But then it turns out the whole song is a backmask. And then you start saying, okay, so who are these people involved with? And now they're involved with JonTron. And before you know it, it branches out into this whole network of people. And I used to have a lot more, I would give people more benefit of the doubt. But these days I am just such a skeptic because there are so many of them out there that are just in this fucking club where, oh, well, this is how you want to make it big on YouTube. This is how you have to go about doing it, you know? And even just down to things like how they all started with the same opening. Hit that like button and subscribe. I wouldn't be surprised if phrases like that are like phonetic reversals that they have kind of like made the culture pick up. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised, but
there's alternative media mocked the Mockingbird mainstream media for saying the same things, and then now you get into alternative media and they use the same persuasive talk as the mainstream, just in a more, I guess, approachable. They don't have like the same cadence as mainstream. They talk the fucking same. Like it's weird how they like through education, through their indoctrination, get like mind controlled into speaking the same phonetically. Now, alternative media is more of a regular tone. Now, everybody's different. You got lots of flavors. But yes, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And it's just like over and over again. It's a persuasive thing where it's like, and then to help out with the algos, yes, we tell you like hit the thumbs up and stuff like that. It helps. But when you see them doing every fucking video and then there's a little chime to it, it's the same thing they do with commercials. You get used to a little jingle, get used to a little chime, and it's like, oh yeah, now it's time to hit that like button. Shit, it's like you're fucking being programmed by the alternative media too, man.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, it's kind of it's interesting, like because they've done that before, where they've taken like hundreds of these news broadcasters all saying the exact same phrase that they got handed that script down from somebody above them, right? And they all read the script. How many do you think we could do with that? Hit that like and subscribe and repost. You know, you could get how almost every channel does it because it's almost like a requirement for you to succeed to get, the algorithm in your favor.
Yeah, people literally program that they need that reminder in order to pull off like the action that needed to take. But that's the other sad thing about this, Dean. And like in the beginning, I didn't cuss hardly at all. And in a lot of your work, some people are going to be turned off when you cuss. This is the same thing I have right now because I've just let it rip. And you have to grow some thick skin to deal with a lot of the attacks. And thank you very much, Charlotte. I really appreciate the support. Keep this going. But people have gotten to the point where they're so desensitized that what we're doing right here, some people are like, and I'm not calling anybody out, and I'm not going to say any names, obviously. And people are doing other things in life. You're baking, you're making something, you're knitting, you're whatever, driving down the road, you're going to work, you're going from work to home, whatever. You're only listening to a certain degree of this presentation right now. I go and I when I first started this channel, I was putting every fucking link to everything that I referenced down below. And I would still get people in my comments saying, can you send the link to this? And it's like, it's in the fucking video description. So there's that. But then you're going to say things on here that they're never going to hear, or you're going to say something that's going to go in their head. They're going to hear it audibly, but it's not going to register because they are only half listening because the kids are fucking, causing mayhem, or shit's going crazy in their home, or they're just programmed to only capture a certain amount of what we say. So when I get a little bit more animated, I'd like to think that people pay a little bit more attention, if you will. They're like, well, something must be going on. And I don't do it for that sake. However, I'm just trying to be natural, and project it out there a little bit more, because I think a lot of people when I go to these channels where they have allegedly thousands of people watching live, I'm so fucking bored out of my mind. I can't believe that this shit exists. And yet people still go there. But that most of the time aren't even giving a fuck about what they're talking about. It's like they could be saying like the most horrendous shit, I bet. And most people, 99% of the people, wouldn't even know that they said something like that they were worshiping Satan or some shit, because they're really not tuned in.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean by that. I see a lot of that actually, where you see a lot of these bigger accounts and you walk into their chat rooms and it's the people aren't watching the content. They're there to argue with each other in the chat box a lot of the time with the bigger accounts. And most of those viewers, you got to question if they're even real to begin with.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing that Biscuits and I have talked a lot about. But what you get in there is it's their echo chambers, they're cults. Yeah. And so the only people that understand me are the ones on Rambo and Friends. I have to go to my Rambo and Friends. I have to go to my Patriot Underground and talk to the people that actually understand me, because the rest of my life, no one understands me. It's because they're telling you shit that no one wants to believe. If you're following a Liz Crokin, she'll go and take a post where there was like a post of Lady Gaga just making homemade pizza. And there was like, maybe there was something to like the things, but she's not breaking it down like you are. But she'll just take any time that she can attack somebody, and she'll attack them, and it'd be so outrageous. I was doing stock footage and stuff like that with various content creation, and I put one with a panda in it. I just put a panda in a video, and they fucking so there was 2 or 3 people that went fucking nuts, like I was subliminally putting in panda eyes. I'm like, are we supposed to murder all the fucking pandas now?
Yeah, like
people are like making it so insane. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, pandas are like an endangered fucking species now. So if I show one on the fucking screen for a different purpose, because I was doing the whole bamboo ninja kind of fucking Japanese kind of style thing, and then I put a panda on there, and you're fucking saying that I'm pushing panda eyes, fuck you. You're crazy, motherfuckers. But that's what makes it so that you can't communicate with your family members. And so the only place you can go is these live chats where you don't even give a fuck what they're talking about. Devolution's completely debunked, and Badlands still gets thousands of viewers all the time, pushed on Rumble. And that's the dumbest theory in the fucking world. And yet people show up there. And if I actually just tune in just for like 5 minutes to see what's going on, they're not even talking about what they're fucking discussing in the program. They're just chatting with their friends that they're finally getting to talk to again.
No, I see a lot of that, but
sorry, and I was on that little rant.
No, you're good, man. I would just say that it's crazy to me how this is why I always say like context matters. Like it's very different when you're somebody who's actively been exposing a lot of this stuff and you're posting it in an innocent manner rather than like posting the panda next to a child with the black eyes. It's a different scenario. It's a different situation, and people I don't know. It's it's difficult because a lot of the stuff we deal with is ambiguous, and I understand why people are so skeptical when they've gotten lied to by so many other people in the media their whole life. But likewise, I you know, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where people gotta learn to discern. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, there's usually reasons why people will put stuff like that in there, but it wasn't connect. It was like the whole theme of the entire thing was like bamboo and like I don't know, man. Pandas to me are funny because of how goofy they are.
They're awesome. Yeah,
they're awesome. Genetically like awkward because of I don't know. They're just funny. But I didn't put it in there. Well, you wouldn't be able to connect it to anything that I don't know. Regardless of that whole thing, that was a long time ago. But it was like stuff like that. Where it's like, that's what these gatekeepers like Liz Crockett will do. They'll inflame you so much that if you even just see like a panda, you immediately think that person's a fucking Satanist, and then you attack them for it. It's like, that's what makes it so no one wants to talk to you in your real life, and then you have to come and get in Liz Crockett's chat box so that you can talk to people that are also lunatics, taking things way too far and have a good time.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I try to approach all of this with it's the mark of an educated mind that entertains a thought without accepting it, but that doesn't mean we need to accept every single thought. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a pretty open-minded individual, obviously, based on the kind of work that I deal with, but that doesn't mean I buy into every single conspiracy that comes my way. You know, you have to look into these things, discernment, and you have to always bear in mind the context of what you're talking about. And if you leave the context out of the conversation, then you're doing yourself and the investigation an injustice.
Right. It's like panda eyes is a real thing. They use to mock. We've seen Lady Gaga and people do that. I get it. It's the same thing with Pizzagate. Yes, pizza, cheese pizza, child porn. There was various things, code words, code names, signifiers that they use that's legit and was even put into the FBI profiles of pedophiles. That stuff's real. It's just when you have a person
and then it goes every person.
Yes, and it's like everything's like everything, everything.
So this is my context for an example. Like, it's different when you have Joe Biden and his wife dressing up as pandas, right, for Halloween or Easter or whatever the hell it was, where they were just a piece in China. No, they were doing panda eye references. It's a lot different when somebody's doing like pandas as part of like an Asian or Oriental theme. That's just, yeah, I don't know. That to me, it seems like that should be obvious, but unfortunately, like you said, people get so passionate, especially because, again, when you think of what the context is concerning harming children, people get rabid when you think about pedophiles and you know, how they should be treated in this culture. So yeah, it gets like red in the eyes almost, where you're kind of blurred, and you got to remind yourself, rein it back in and refocus your attention to detail. Take that rage and refocus it.
And then I didn't realize that pandas were even we've got a whole thing in the chat where multiple people are saying that pandas are sus. Some people say pandas aren't real. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I've never heard that.
What the fuck is going on with pandas, man? Like, you're just gonna tell me the pandas aren't even real? Like, what?
They're not real bears.
They're not fucking real. What the fuck is going on?
But Boston Terriers, right? They like to take some.
Hank's posting a Facebook line about pandas. Was it along the lines of panda eyes? Like they do that kind of shit. But it's like, if we're supposed to just murder all the pandas, if they like, what do you? I mean, I don't know. It's getting ridiculous at this point. What are they? What are the fucking cyborgs, robotic or something like that? Because they are funny. They'll be eating their bamboo and they'll just fall off of wherever they're sitting, and it's just like, what the fuck just happened? Or the funny video that went viral where the mama panda is just sitting there fucking eating bamboo, and the little tiny baby panda sneezes and it scares the shit out of the mama panda.
Yeah. No, yeah, and that's the whole thing. Where like they like taking things that are cute and adorable, and then they make them into something atrocious, and they ruin it for everybody.
Right. And like pizza. Like for a long time, I didn't even want to say that pizza is like one of my favorite foods. Yeah. Because they had ruined it. Yep. Even pasta.
I'm Italian. I remember telling my friends like I was done with pizza for like almost a year and a half after Pizzagate broke. I couldn't do it. I was just fucking fed up with it.
Yeah, man.
grossed me out.
When I went to visit New York before I'd ever woken up to anything, they told me that if I ordered a slice of pizza, that don't call it pizza. And I was like, what? They want you to call it pie there. And I don't know if it's connected. Like if it was a thing in New York where they already knew like what the whole deal was with the pedophilia and the pizza stuff, but they didn't want you calling it pizza there. They want you calling it pie. I don't know if that's
That's
legit or real, but
interesting.
that's what I was told. I was like warned very, very sternly that you don't order a slice of pizza. You order a slice of pie. I was like, hey, whatever.
That's maybe a city thing. Definitely not something I've heard in upstate New York, at least. But
yeah. Anyway, so we're still here at Little St. James. Was there anything else you wanted to show with the fish clay thing?
Well, I just kind of wanted to identify a few things that I had talked about on my channel, where like fish clay to me is probably a reference to Fish K, and it seems to me that a lot of the people at this location, like the general we had looked at, and Live, Love, Sail, a lot of these people are in fact like undercover operatives. It looks like to me, because when you go through their photography, like we did on our channel, that's actually a pizza delivery boat with the black and white stripes. That comes from Pizza PV, and I've done this location before as well. But a lot of the photography here, like it looks innocent on the surface. It looks like it's just like a really cool idea with the, delivery of boat. Sounds awesome. And then you start realizing that they're signaling to each other about inversions and flipping the mirror game. And it's not like if this location wasn't so specifically close to Little St. James, I might not be as suspicious of it. But its proximity definitely changes photos like this. And the fact that a lot of their photos do the mirror game most certainly makes it more concerning.
This whole area is sus because what was going on there, especially with other islands around there. I don't know if you've ever broken down Biden's island, because Biden has a fucking island in this area somewhere.
I haven't actually. That's what I could definitely do. What is his island?
I don't know exactly where it's at, but we should at some point look that up. Biden has an island there. That's crazy. But then there were Disney cruises that were going down into that area for a while, and people pointed that out. And it was like, oh, really? Disney cruises were going around into that area. What was really going on with the Disney cruises? Maybe there was a cruise on the surface, and then they were also transporting and moving kids. I don't freaking know. I'm just saying.
It's one of those things where, unfortunately, with companies like Disney, they have a history of being involved with that kind of shit to the point where they'll make jokes about it on Family Guy.
Yes, right.
I'm looking to see
sensationalism. Yes, they'll make fun of it. There was a whole episode on South Park where they talked about adrenochrome basically and the Q stuff. And they had figures that looked, they didn't name them, but they had a figure that looked like Oprah. They had a figure that looked like Tom Hanks, and they had recognizable characters drinking out of like wine glasses, like what it looked like blood, and it was like made fun of it.
And part of that is desensitizing people to it because they want to make light of what they're actually doing and revealing it to the public.
Right. And then my best friend who loves South Park, and he only believes in God when I don't believe in God, because I've gone up and down with God, so I'll believe in God, and then I'll have my period of time where I'm like done with the God stuff. I haven't for a long time. But back in the day when I was struggling with alcohol and, just life stuff, and then I wouldn't believe in God, then he believed in God. It's just ridiculous. But when I talk to him about adrenochrome, he thinks the idea of adrenochrome is the dumbest thing he's ever heard. And when I realized that they had done this show, I'm like, yeah, you definitely saw that.
Well, that's the problem, is where they do things like this with the intent of deceiving and discrediting. And they did the same thing with, like, look at Mel Gibson, right? How did South Park portray Mel Gibson? It's a great example. They made him look like a raving lunatic running around in his underwear after he did The Passion of Christ. And why is that? Because he was the only one constantly talking about how baby blood is the most valuable currency for Hollywood. So, and again, South Park, if you just check their episodes, they're putting phonetic reversals in all of their shows. That's how I predicted Charlie Kirk's death by a month. I say that all the time. That's how I knew that Kanye West wasn't genuine. Because, do you like fish sticks, Kanye? Fish sticks is skin shift. And things like that where people don't pick up on it. They don't understand it, but they're constantly communicating using references like this in the culture. And yeah, I think you know,
they're all connected to the script because it's all 3-letter agency. And I think a lot of this script has been being done by AI for a while now. That's my opinion, though. I don't know that. I just think AI has been more powerful than people realize for a long time. And when I learned about what I learned from Sabrina Wallace, where they've talked about having this stuff active for decades before it ever gets actually told to the public, kind of a thing. I think that AI is Satan's way of being like physical and more even directly involved in this world. We got some people saying some really great stuff in the comments, but hey, A Beautiful Life 5303, you were on I guess deep dives, I'm assuming, when I was making some videos there. Wow, welcome. You got out of the cult. Congratulations. That's fucking awesome.
You know, yeah, I think it's definitely wild when you see some of the things that they make light of. And I would say that when you think a lot of it is like it's very well in your face scripted as far as AI is concerned. It was Elon who said, beware of those who worship AI gods. And then he went out and made one. Like, I mean, flat out Rock is G Rock and it's in the shape of Saturn. Like they're not even being subtle about it. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this stuff that they're getting, if AI was a form of them, like trying to make a way to commune with the spirits in a modern way, to speak without speaking and to, you know, see without seeing. But you know, a lot of that sounds very skeptical, and it sounds like it's stuff that could be just pushed away as conspiracy on the surface. My issue with it is when we find locations like this with Cat Hill where there's no objective reason other than Satanism for this place to exist.
Gotcha. Oh, they're trying to say that it was that that Bidens don't have an island, but in 2005, James Biden, Joe's brother, and his wife had purchased 1-acre plot on Water Island.
It's on Water Island.
Water Island, which is about 8 miles from Little St. James, and later partially sold to a lobbyist. Partially sold means what? They still freaking have a stake in it. So Water Island is what you'd be looking for, and they have a 1-acre plot. I don't know how you'd look at what their plot is, but I think there would be at least some significance you might find there. So,
all right, so here's St. James, I think. Is this no? This is Turtle Cove. Where's St. James? Okay, so Fish Cay is here. Water Island is here. Just so we have a little bit of a reference, like this is St. James. You follow the bay right here. It's next door as far as water is concerned. A lot of things popping out at me here. First of all, why is this block squared out like this? That's us.
Right.
So I'm already getting weird things about this island. Let me take a peek, though. Because from what I'm seeing, I mean, it seems obvious. It's supposed to be a cut in half right here.
And it's weird that they'd only buy an acre and then they'd go and sell part of it to a lobbyist. Like, where is that acre? Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah, let me know if you can find that, because I'll take a look specifically at that acre. I'm just curious about the flip on this, to be honest. I haven't seen it before, so I figure as long as we're here, take a look at it.
Because 1 acre on the land would be one thing, but we know they do submarines underneath these islands and shit too. It could be literally like an acre where they fucking use a submarine and go to it. This shit's just crazy.
Well, there's an evil eye.
Okay, so James Biden's property on Water Island, U.S. Virgin Islands, is identified in property records as 109 Water Island, South Side, Quarter 10.
South Side, Quarter 10?
Yep, South Side quarter 10. 109 Water Island, South Side quarter 10.
I don't know. I'll try like this and see if it comes up. But it came up over here. So this looks like. Do you have any road references? Like, because this is near to.
Let me see if this will do it. Whoa, okay. Next. Finish. Okay.
There's a spot called Revenge Bay. That's kind of sus.
Revenge Bay.
Just Revenge Bay.
Okay, I got it. Yes. Okay. It's 26040 Gooseneck Road, Royal Oak, MD. Why is it MD? Oh, that's weird. 21662.
That brings us out to Maryland.
Yeah, why is that at Maryland? That must just be where their ownership comes from. But all it says for the address is that 109 Island South Side, quarter 10.
That's interesting in itself, though. If this is where the property came out of,
you might be able to find it with what I got on the screen here, but I can't. Let me see.
Well, it's one of those things where, to me, the island itself, when you look at it, definitely they've set it up such that it's doing the pyramid with the eyeball at the top of it.
Right. Let me share this real quick.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
And let's see if you can find it. I'm going to take yours down, and then I'm going to share what I got here, because this looks like it's showing us the spot. You guys can see that, right? Yes. So you see this location right here?
Yeah, I actually can see that right there. That is my Crown Pass.
See if you can find it on yours, and then I'll stop my share, and then you can.
Oh, on zoom in again. It's right near. Yeah, it's between Crown Pass Road and Limestone Road. So it'd be like in here. Something like this. This looks right to me, because if we're looking, there's the bottom.
Yes. Yep. It's right in there. It's like where that dark spot is.
Which are up in here?
A little bit down to the right. That really dark spot. That up right there where your cursor was. Damn it.
Oh, you mean like here?
Yes. That is where it looks like it's at. Because that dark spot is literally in the 109-2.
Interesting.
It's like in the it's in the lower left corner of that lit up yellow square. This is weird. I've never seen anybody look at this.
So what I'm looking at here is that they have they've got an angled line right here. I'm just taking a peek from like you know what I usually do, and I'm curious now if maybe what is it? It's like this. We're supposed to bring it up further, or do we just take it to the top of the wall? I'm gonna try like this. I'm not sure. Like this is one of those things that where you have to go out and you have to look, because if you don't look, you'll never know. And
right.
Sometimes they definitely, if the Bidens are making sales here, there might be a reason for that is religiously significant to these people, because we know that buying certain types of property, and again, when you think like what is a crown to them, and then it's the pyramid with the eyeball, like that's kind of where we're getting at with a lot of this, where it's religious symbolism to them that is significant.
Right, and some of it could also just be way to money launder. Like, yeah. I think what Biscuits is saying here, the lobbyist probably paid 100 times what the Bidens paid. So the Bidens got that little just plot of land, because it doesn't even look like a fucking building or structures on that acre. So do they just buy that, and then someone pays them for access to it? But really, it's just a reason to give them money for something else.
Yeah, I mean, and that's definitely always a piece of it, is always the money, because it's a large reason why a lot of people get into Luciferianism to begin with, is for the money.
Right. But Carl's seeing demons like in this, so I think there might be something to it also.
I mean, I definitely do. I think that it's weird that there's an eyeball right here that kind of shaped out. I think it's weird how there's like a mouth, eye, and then these kind of come out as horns, or here where it's eye, and then this is like an open mouth with horns. The more you
Right.
look at a location like this, the more you're going to see them. And not everybody is, who's like, if you're not familiar with this process, this would be foreign to people who don't know to look for this stuff.
Right. This is where people start accusing you of schizo, but you have certain like what you've found doing this so many hours of like testing this stuff or seeing various anomalies in Google Earth. You find certain points to take your cuts from.
Yeah,
That
like that.
seem to be like, because they've got to make this so that dumbass pervert fucking pedophiles can still find this shit, right? So like they make it a little bit more obvious on the Google Earth, but no one's really looking for it. Or you'll just be called a schizo
Even
for
if you do
doing
find
it.
it. Yeah.
But they make it so that dumbass perverts can find locations so that they know where to go. And then Biscuit's making another point. It also gives the Bidens an excuse if they're found in that area. Say they're caught near Little St. James.
Yeah, they can
Oh,
say
we're
that.
just going to our one little acre plot that's over on Water Island, or we were just in that area because we have a little acre there that we were checking on, or whatever the fuck they would use as an excuse if they needed one.
No, but that's another good point though, that they actually, yeah, it just gives them a reason to be in the area. But I think it's always interesting to me when you find them, like with Little St. James, they put these little puzzle solves here as part of their religion, and I can't help but wonder if that's intentional.
Right.
That they're doing that with the purpose of playing the game to some extent. That's why this building is shaped like this, even though it looks like it's almost like a broken down structure.
Yeah.
Um,
Could be something still underneath it.
yeah, it could be the entrance to something, or it could just be, like I said, that they wanted to use it for the eyeballs here. Um, that's definitely, it's when you think about how much money these people have, it seems ridiculous when you think about that, but a lot of the time it is, for them, it's all about the religious significance. Everything they do has to do with their religion, that they are so devout to these gods and to this crazy ass process, that it starts leaking through in all aspects of their life. And that's why they become very easy to identify, actually, is because they end up, they do themselves in with that.
Right. Here's a good question from Atlas B. Are the mirror images always north to south oriented? Do you keep it north to south when you search things, or or does it matter?
That's a really good question. A lot of the time, when I first started investigating, like with 3D images, when I was doing the Royang district of Thailand, I would look actually to the east first, because to them the east star is very relevant because it's a representation of Ishtar. But not always. And one of the major things about Luciferians is perspective. So rotating and changing the way you look at things definitely does. You can find more puzzle solves because it's supposed to be looked at from every angle. When we think about like how they used to do this on Google Maps with the phone app, you couldn't access the maze unless you were doing it from the desktop app. But if you were to start going on Google Earth, and sometimes we found videos like at Mount Belinda where they even rotated the mountain as they zoomed in to show a specific heart-shaped structure. So the more you look at them, the more you'll see that spirals and different angles and rotations, all of it. So I always say, if you think that it could be something that they would do, then go ahead and test it and see, and rotate it and see.
Right. And like what angels don't fall. Yeah, that's exactly what Dean does. He flips it multiple ways and then sees what comes out of it. But as above, so below, that kind of thing. Absolutely. Everything's reversed, everything's perverted, inverted.
Even just something as simple as this, where you can see they've made the 8 function in both directions. right? Like it's an infinite in both ways because you're supposed to be able to look at it from multiple angles. And now if we've rotated this image, what are we going to see along the mirror's edge? You're going to see more demons. But
right. And just because you've done this so many times, I assume that you can just give a quick little, like, I'm telling you, if you're just catching, because I'm getting more subscribers like on YouTube and Rumble, platforms are growing, which is great. Thank you all for being here. But if you have not seen any of Dean's previous work that we've done together, and then I have his link tree down below so you can get to his work and follow him, you know, when he does his solo stuff, because that's what he's doing mostly. I love having Dean on, and I'm so grateful to Biscuits for finding him, and so that we can collaborate. And hopefully we'll get all three of us together once Biscuits gets fully back from the holidays. But can you talk about what the infinite means and also the color inversions, Epstein Island, and just go over that real briefly for people?
Happy to
encourage people to please go back and watch the previous episodes. You can just scroll back on Rumble, and it shouldn't be too hard to find. But there's literally a playlist that I've made just for Dean, and this will be video 4 in there. Please go watch those.
So with Epstein's Temple, I always come just to see if I can find my special solo. So I'm going to give you guys a photo they've gone out of their way to get rid of on Google, and I invite you all to spite them and give them the finger by recreating a screenshot of this for yourself when I open this up. So this image is Epstein's Temple, and a lot of people are going to be, if this is your first time seeing this image, is probably a big what the hell with this Eye of Horus here in the center. Now, when we look at Google, you can't find this image anymore where it's kind of like right up here in the corner where it's got the 2 benches and you can see it's kind of starting to form down here. You can't find that on Google anymore. They got rid of it. So I invite you, if you guys want this image, take this and we're going to do a quick breakdown. This is the 14 stripes of Osiris. If you count them, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right. You can see that Ishtar is standing. This golden woman here is Ishtar. She's standing on top of a white cube, and the white cube itself is on top of a white cube. So Osiris mythology is about reincarnation through having sex. Isis, her husband was killed by his brother Set, and they've collected 14 parts, but they couldn't find the phallus because it was ate by a goldfish, or by a fish in the Nile, not a goldfish, sorry. But she fashioned him a phallus made out of gold, and they had sex, and he reincarnated into the child. That is the mythos. This is an Arch of Janus, which is another Titan of time. Grid pattern for Saturn. It's another reference to time. This mirror here, this, like, if you look at the front of the temple, you'll note there's a repeating thing where there's like circles closing in on themselves. That's not even... Yeah, like this. You got the snake pattern in the front.
Yeah.
And now the interesting thing about this snake pattern is when the maze was live, there were portions of the maze that specifically used this left up, right up, left up, right up, this pattern to get through the maze to find the correct answer. So that to me was suspicious. But the whole point of the mirrored images, these circles, is because if you were to take something like OBS, is the example I use. I don't know if everybody can see that, but this is what they're trying to imitate, is a mirror facing itself. It's about infinite worship, and it all stems back to the belief that by having...
You're just showing us something that where it just kept going into itself, right?
Yeah, that was my OBS. That was just me, like, I was showing how it folds into itself. That's the whole point of those patterns of the circles next to the snake labyrinth. The labyrinth is, of course, where you find Malak. But here, let me look up the first degree trace board. So this is the first degree Masonic trace board. I do this breakdown quite frequently, but we'll do a quick rundown of it. The east is where north should be because this is where Ishtar, East Star, comes from. It's masculine and feminine energy. This is the Eye of Providence, or the Eye of Horus, which is what we saw on Epstein's Island in that photo. You'll notice the woman is depicted with naked children, and she's sitting above a white cube on top of a ladder. Now, the people on the ladder are dressed specific colorations, and that is with religious intent. This is like a Catholic priesthood has to wear, purple and scarlet. With this, These people believe in blue and yellow, pink and green. And the reason for this is color inversions. It's not necessarily the colors, but the act of the inversion. With these specific colors, they do mean something very specific because the key is tied to pink. Freemasons, pink is sex and fertility. Green is the evergreen, so everlasting life. The key to everlasting life is tied to sex and fertility. And at the top of the ladder is a woman dressed in gold and white, or was it blue and black? It's the dress joke. They were having a ha-ha, but with naked children. And it's a definite tell that these people believe that by raping children, they get everlasting life. And how do they do that? Well, this black goblet is black for a reason. It's because the demonic act of drinking the blood of children becomes the angelic act of sitting atop the cube of Saturn and having life everlasting. This is a color inversion gimmick about the perspectives of good and evil and how not everybody views love in the same manner. Ishtar was the goddess of love and war from Babylon. She's known to be the matron of whores, which is why Jeffrey Epstein was a pimp. He's religiously devout to his gods. And when you understand his gods consist of fertility and time worship, and that they pursue everlasting life, the infinite of life, by sacrificing children, it becomes more readily apparent like why they worship these gods. Moloch is the bull-headed man, and he does this W. Moloch was known for ritual burning your firstborn in the fire. Ishtar does the W. She's depicted as an owl, as a large cat, or as with the bull of Gilgamesh. And it comes back to things like, why does Anderson Cooper's mom have an altar of Ishtar up in their childhood bedroom like this? Like, this is absolutely abominable that this is allowed to exist in our high society. But the without getting into too much of a tangent, the whole point is that when these people come out and when they see the cube of Epstein's temple, let me just pull it up again. My apologies.
No worries.
When they see the cube, it's not a matter of just like the white and blue and the red and white. It's an entire religious code sheet to them about the red ladder being symbolic of ascending to godhood. And what do they have to do to ascend to godhood, to stand atop the white cube the way Ishtar does? Well, they have to make blood sacrifice so they can navigate this black void of death, the infinite void. They learn to walk the labyrinth by appeasing Moloch and giving blood sacrifice so that they can climb the ladder up these blue becomes golden stripes of Osiris. And again, like, they got rid of this image off of Google with pretty heavily scrutiny for a reason, and it's because it directly connects Jeffrey Epstein to Freemasonry, and it directly connects pedophilia to Freemasonry. And if I might segue to Cat Hill on that note, just because I try to show this process.
Yep.
This is Cat Hill. We've talked about this on episode 1. This is where I found Tum Nibui, where they're chucking kids out of planes onto this rock and then burning the corpses in this obelisk, as far as I can tell. And there's a lot of signals on this island, like at East Crater I've talked about. Oh, look at that. Oh, they got rid of it. Dumb fucking cocksuckers. My apologies.
No, man, I'm glad you always have this stuff saved too. So when you catch them, it's like Dean exposes this stuff, and Dean doesn't have a huge channel. We're trying to help him grow and get bigger because this is important. But they remove shit when he exposes it still, and they can't be too happy that I'm helping you out here, buddy.
I'm telling you, man. They it's like I said, they are nervous now because they know all it takes is not my voice, not your voice. It's if people see this and they go, "Huh, let me try that on my favorite celebrity or my favorite politician," and they come to the same conclusions. The Illuminati's got a fucking problem.
Exactly.
This is the kind of thing that they had at this exact location that I'm talking about. They just deleted this because I check this location pretty frequently. So this is an 8-fingered demon, and above it, it becomes an angel, and it's because it's the perspectives of good and evil, and that angels can become demons for them, and likewise, demons can become angels for them. Now, you've been moose. I won't get into right now because we don't have the audio live, but it's Tomb Nabui backwards, which is tomb with a stone. Another thing they deleted from this location was this photo. As long as we're on the subject.
Yeah, man. No, and there's other people that could magnify this, and that's my hope is like I get you to the next step, and then someone else steps in. Earlier on Substack, I did see that Sir Escanor joined. He's got a much larger platform on X, but if more, and he's got Substack too. If more people could see this and start helping get this out there, or doing your own, or whatever you want to do, have Dean on. I don't know. I'm not anybody's gatekeeper. Like, bring him on, man. Like,
I'm always willing to talk about this stuff.
Right, man. Let's get this out there even more. I mean, my channel's not that big, but it's the next step. That's all I'm saying. And hopefully more eyes can see this. And then there's more of you out there that are sharing some of this or understanding how it works. And you'll see it. The more that I've spent time with Dean and watching his work, the more I see it all over the place. And things that didn't make sense. Like I said, when I'd see pictures that were posted in various places or people that posted them, like whether it was Instagram or something like that, I'd be like, why did you post that picture? It's not even a good picture in the just surface level of looking at something. But then if you were to start flipping it and showing all these connections, like what Dean does here, you see the totems, you see the demons, you see the sigils, you see the communications.
Yeah, and that's kind of where, like, I was going through some of these that are common connections I talk about frequently, because you start realizing that this is not an accident that this is going on in this manner. Excuse me, and that they're communicating in this way with religious intent and purpose. So just because they deleted that, I am going to really quickly snag this and show people, like, again, this is called Tomb Nabui, and this is where they take off in planes. That's why there was 2 planes in front of the moose, and then they chuck kids out of planes, like David Miller. He bragged about this and deleted his account when I called him out on it. They brag about killing kids, and this is in the shape of an infinite, which is religiously significant to them because it's about getting everlasting life through blood sacrifice. Now,
and it looks like a portal.
Yeah, and it's kind of what it looks like, right? It looks like a portal or an eyeball between the horns, and that's exactly on point. That's what they're trying to get it to look like.
Right.
But even like stuff like this, where now we have the outside of the mirror edge, and you flip it and you go, oh, would you look at that? It's a pyramid with an eyeball. Like, they're not, once you understand these ciphers, once it starts to click, you'll start seeing how they do it all over the place. The main thing I brought up Cat Hill today, though, was because recently I was following Pyramid Point Road because I thought it was weird that there was a place called Pyramid Point Road on this island of pedophiles and demon worshippers. I said, well, where does Pyramid Point Road go? And I started following it, and as I followed through the city, I came down here, and there's a literal church of pederasty on this island. There's no photos about it or nothing, but if you go to Google and you look up pederasty, you got to make sure you're careful because you might get a visit from the feds. Pederasty is literally refers to same sexual relationships between an adult man and an adolescent boy. So what in the fresh fuck is a church of pedophilia doing on this island? Right next to this windy road. And then right next to the south entrance of the windy road, you find this blotch out here. And I'm sorry, there is no other reason for this blotch to be here other than devil worship. Right. There's no reason for this to be here and this is the thing where we could go, all right, who added these things to Little St. James Island? I don't know who added these things to Little St. James Island, but somebody from Google put this fucking demon next to this church of pedophilia, and I want answers for it. I want to know who did this. And now, thankfully, one of my viewers from Twitter, the name is escaping me off the top of my head, but he came through and he linked us to one of the official here it is. This guy, Rowan Laxton. This guy is the official Ascension Island administrator. And when I started looking through all of his photography, all of his photos were doing the mirror flip, damn near without exception. He was constantly using turtles to reference again. And what I noticed was they have an entire website of like government officials and everything. And every photo that has been posted on this website was one that I was flipping before I got on tonight just to see what was going on. All of them. Like this is from the coronation of the governor for Ascension Island. And you can see she's got the blue and yellow, pink and green going on, and then there's a pyramid with an eyeball. Or if you look at it from a different angle, they have this woman out here sitting in the audience with the checkerboard hat to let you know that there's something going on. And then it becomes this almost like an ink blot test of devil worship, where you're seeing them go eye, mouth, right? And then there's horns coming up like this. Or in here where you can kind of see there's a face with eye, and then this is a mouth down here, and the horns come up. But every single person on this website, originally I wasn't sure how I wanted to frame this, whether I wanted to give them benefit of the doubt or not, but no, they've got Church of Pedophilia on their island.
Right.
So I don't really feel inclined to give them any benefit of the doubt. I want this guy.
Where else do you find the word pederasty and it used as a church for one, but then used to name anything that you want to be good? That's like naming a place Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where the reason why I really wanted to highlight this while I was on tonight was because I do think they're going to get rid of this. I think that they are absolutely going to get rid of this because they do not want this mirror process directly connected to pedophilia by any means necessary, especially not when it's stuff like this with the Baphomet with the fingers pointed down, or how we talked about with the temple. They don't want this. They don't want us being able to connect this to that. And there it is, right in your face. Church of Pedophilia, Satan is a mirror game right next door. Like that's too specific for it to be a coincidence. I don't know who put the church up. I would be interested to know all of that. But
right.
as far as the actual Ascension Island governor, this is Mr. Nigel Phillips, CBE. He is the governor of St. Helena. I want to ask him, is he part of the Church of Pederasty? Is any of his friends or family members of the Church of Pederasty? Rowan Laxton is the administrator of Ascension Island. I'm asking him the same question. And to all of these council members, every single one of these people, all of them, I did their mirror flips before the show. Why are you all putting devil worship in your mirrors? Why is there a consistent pattern of behavior where you're all doing this exact gimmick, where you're hiding satanic images in the mirror of your photography on an official government website? And are any of you members of the Church of Pederasty, and are any of your friends or family members of the Church of Pederasty? Because
right. And now they've been put on blast, and there'll be more research to be done. But now anybody can go and start researching these names, looking in to see what you can find on these people.
And I advocate people to go out there and write letters to these folks and ask them what the hell is going on this island, because they're not going to respond to just one person. But if people kick up a stink and say, what the fuck is going on out here, where you've got a church of goddamn pedophilia on your stupid Satan worship island, and I don't use GD unless it is literally you are damned by God. And I do believe one of the few things you can do that will get you eternally damned by God, no ifs, ands, or buts, is be a pedophile and put harms on children. Right. So when they're taking the Lord's name, the church, and associating it with something like this church needs to get burned down. That's how I feel about it.
That should be the Church of Millstones next.
Yeah. Let's just there should just be a pile of millstones there and let it be a memorial to what happens when you tread on this ground. Because I'm sick and tired of watching these people get away with obvious occult actions just beyond the broader day because nobody understands the thought processes of their enemy. I'm not going to say I understand every aspect of the Illuminati, but just putting together the dots and knowing, okay, phonetic reversal 50 years in the music industry cannot be a mere coincidence. It's a pattern of religious behavior. Knowing that all of these mirror things that I've been showing you guys, from Little St. James to Level 900 to Cat Hill, to all of the things I showed while we were talking earlier, these cannot be accidents. They are religiously bound to these forms of behavior. And coming to the conversation with that understanding that they must do this as part of their religion, gives you the keys to identify these people and scrutinize them in a way you've never had access to do before.
Right. I don't know if this is, I mean, Rum and Soda saying a guy they know on a Telegram channel was offered a contract to lead the IT networking guy, to be the IT networking guy on Ascension Island back in 2022. He turned it down because the island's population was too small for raising kids.
Yeah, I've read a little bit about that, because it's not like there's a native population here. Everybody who is on the island is a member of the government or of the township.
Right. And it'd be really interesting to know the names that probably go there frequently, or not even frequently. I just the kind of people that probably go there.
Yeah, and it's like I said, when they're talking Grotto of Our Lady of Ascension, they're talking about Ishtar, not about Mary. And you know, I just the amount of digging I've done on this island, where I've gone into different locations and I've gone to their cemeteries and picked apart the photography and shown how they're putting shit in the mirror. They're doing obelisk worships, and it's like, it's not just a game to them.
Legit obelisks there, like legit fucking obelisks.
Yeah, which, because they're marked as gravestones, but to them it serves a dual purpose, and it serves a purpose of, oh yeah, emergency number 999. That's really clever. It's not like 666 upside down or anything. Like shit like that, where they're really not being slick in the slightest. Blue and yellow, pink and green, dragon, like that's very clever, everybody, and it's a couple of kids. No, this is a new photo, and it's A&P funny. We'll find out what's so funny about this in a second. Is this the only one you've uploaded? No, and this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. This dude's probably a pedophile advertising. That's the kind of shit that just, it drives me crazy, because this is just some random dude. Oh, maybe these could be the same kids. I don't know. Don't look like it to me. But, you know, it gets me so crazy looking at this stuff, because you know what they're doing out there, especially when you can prove it to this level, when you have them putting a church of pedophilia out on just out in the broader day on Google Maps.
So these are pictures from locations on that island that people posted at a location on that island. So
this one is from their official website, the government website. And if you look, there is
the ones with the kids though, right?
The ones with the kids. This is something that they got posted. This was posted right at the Bonetta Cemetery on Cat Hill.
Wow.
This is right here. And when you click Bonetta Cemetery and then you look, it's like, okay, all of these are the pictures of a cemetery. You get to the bottom, and then there's just, oh, look, party town, kids, and then you see the color inversions, blue and yellow, pink and green, which again, I didn't talk about it earlier. I should have, but when we talk about Comet Ping Pong, we said this before, but again, it's yellow and blue, pink and green opposite each other. So that it's kind of leads all back into this. Like the person who asked me about Rowan Laston was like, look, he's got a pink and green chapel on. And that was enough where we started flipping his images and found him out. And then I realized, oh, wait, this guy linked this to me because he's a member of the Ascension Island government. I didn't even realize they had social media and stuff like that. Because I'm a freaking boomer with a computer out here. And, you know, but once that clicked, I started looking, and sure enough, they're making themselves rightfully obvious out here. Rightfully obvious. They're not being subtle. They're a mirror flip away, just like these guys. And that's kind of why I say, like, understanding that this mirror thing is something generic that they do to communicate quite frequently, it definitely changes your perspective on reality. Because then you'll find things like this where they're not even being subtle, right? Where this could very easily be eye, and then these are the horns, right? Or if you look in, there's a pyramid with an eyeball where the mouth actually is. Or this is an eyeball between the horns, you know. And maybe I'm going too fast for people to really digest it. But the beautiful thing about this process always has been that until they delete that photo, you can come right out here right now as I am speaking to you and go, I don't know if I believe that. Let me take a closer look. And if you do, I guarantee you will find it.
Right. You can go and research it yourself. If they don't have that photo, you have a video right here where you can stop it, slow it down, reverse it, whatever you need to do to take a better look at this and understand like how they communicate.
Yeah.
And Google, it's just one of the more easy ones, I guess, when you get into the red pilling information, where it was 666.
Yeah, Google Chrome is 666. At gmail.com is mock the lamb ease. Like it's just,
yeah, and it was the one of the processors or something like that was Adreno, and then
yes,
Chrome or something, and it was for Chrome, you know.
yes, yeah, they did Adreno on one of their processes, and then it was Chrome for the browser. But it's like I said, they're not making it subtle. They have to tell you these things because in their belief system, they are religiously bound to tell you what they are doing. That's another aspect of this game that most people have a hard time comprehending. Why do they tell us these things? Why do they put these images here for anybody to find? Because they are bound by their own religious belief system that they have to play fair and they have to at least tell you what's going on. And then if you do nothing, if you don't take action, if you let it sit, then that's enough for them to get away with it because all it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Right. And then we got someone asking, what do you call this process you were doing? And then thank you for the donation.
I call this the Da Vinci's Code. And the reason why I call it the Da Vinci's Code, at least the mirror game, is because when I first found out about it, a lot of it came back to Dan Brown and The Secret of Secrets. Not that this image necessarily is the one that made it click, but it was very obvious to me on this that there's half of a keyhole here and this R is facing the wrong way. So he's telling you, you mirror the book at itself and you get the full image. And of course, this is a figure 8, just worth mentioning. But when you zoom in and you flip it, of course, it's going to make a complete keyhole. And now you have the key to The Secret of Secrets. So then you go to Da Vinci's works and you go like, we've done the Mona Lisa here, where you notice it's black inkwell, light inkwell. And when you start putting black to black and light to light, suddenly you get a different image. And when I noticed that all of Leonardo da Vinci's works were doing this, I said, this is too frequently happening for this to just be some coincidence. This is a pattern of behavior. He left these images here as a cipher. The Luciferians have become aware of this cipher and have deployed it to continue to deceive the rest of humanity. Because Leonardo da Vinci was doing this at a time where if he got caught doing this, he would have gotten put on a burning pyre. Because he's still to this day recognized as one of the greatest Christian painters who ever lived.
Right. In which everything that he did was he had these ciphers, symbols, whatever you want to call them. You're going to have to go back and watch more of this video in order to understand. And like I've said just previously, watch the other work that Dean has done. You can find on my YouTube channel. In the playlist, you'll see one that's Dean Sound4Sound. You can see a symbol on the screen there. You'll find it that way. And you can also find his link tree down below this video and go right to his website and see all the work that he's doing there too. You'll understand that this is how the cult has been communicating for thousands of years. We're going back to Da Vinci here, and Da Vinci was doing it. All the painters, this is how they put messages within art, and then why it's so revered, why people it's pushed out there into the public all the time, because they're putting it right in your fucking face.
And it's again as part of their religious obligation twofold, because this is part of how they attain eternity, because they believe they'll live on through their legends, right? They live infinitely in this manner, which I believe is a cop-out, but Luciferians disagree. And then secondly, because again, they are religiously bound to tell you what they're doing. They have to put these things forward to you because they have to give you a way to win. Otherwise, the game is rigged and God will intervene.
Right.
That's I really do believe that's part of why they do this. A lot of what they do in their belief system stems from their beliefs in karmic debts. Things like cremation of cares, or why do the Jews like use the chickens over their head, right? Like, what is that symbolic of? It's all of this. It's the same shit. They're out here.
Yeah, once you start realizing it, I mean, That's why it makes sense. It makes sense, the idea that God gave us free will, but we can't have if we learn this, we have higher responsibility kind of a thing. So there's that aspect of it. So you best, if you're gonna learn this information, you best not pretend it doesn't exist and go about your days, because God ain't gonna like that. We have a greater responsibility, but they have to show us. They have to we have to give consent, and sometimes we just don't realize we're doing it. You're paying for an album. On that album is satanic imagery. You're paying for a song. In that song is witchcraft. You're saying yeses to their temptations, their whatever it is to capture your soul and to make you not think God exists, to ultimately take your soul if Satan can get it. But he has to tell you to a certain degree. Now, some of the stuff we're not aware of, but once you realize the symbolism, I mean, just go look at all the food chains. Drive down the main street where you got your Taco Bells and your KFCs and your Chipotles, and you'll find pedo symbols. You'll see that the color is all chosen for a very specific purpose. It's all right out there in the open for everybody to see. And then they're using these big businesses like Walmart's, Wayfair's, Amazon's, and stuff like that to do the very things.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that when we ask how are 800,000 children going missing in the United States alone every year. Yeah, because they're all in on it.
And that's exactly the problem, is that they're all seemingly in on this. I mean, McDonald's is being talked about in the chat, and it's like McDonald's burgers, a lot of people wonder because of the rabbi that was talking about how after Passover they use the leftover human meat and they sell them into the meat packaging facilities, and they sell them back in the form of fast food.
Yeah, Finkelstein. It was like I think it was Rabbi Finkelstein.
Yeah,
he jumped onto a phone call over a radio station, and it's well documented. You can probably find that. I actually did that one when I was still with Gene Decode, because it was just stuff that I felt like needed to be out there. So I went about my business of creating more content, and that one still rings very true. That guy was so cocky. He even mentioned in that conversation, not only did he say that we are stealing your kids, sacrificing them, then feeding them back to you, and you have no idea about it. And he was mocking the guy because the guy's whole radio station was to expose the agenda, to expose what the elite Jews were doing, or whatever, the globalists, however he phrased it. But this guy Finkelstein, the rabbi, was so cocky, saying you can tell them all the truth in the world, and they're still never going to believe you, and they're never going to do anything about it. They're never going to stop us. We're going to war with God, and this time we're going to win. He literally said that. He said it as if he just totally fucking believes that when the next time that they face off with God, that they're going to win. Like the pride and that they've been given over to a hardened heart. As it says in the Bible, God has given them over to their vices. They are participating in their temporal life of fulfilling their evil, fucking sinful desires and laughing in our faces. And who gets the last laugh? Jesus Christ will get the last laugh, guaranteed.
It's one of those,
because it's very sad. These are all creations of God, and they've decided to turn against God. It's sad.
And it's one of those things where, though, like, I've spent a lot of time mourning and being depressed over not only the people who are doing this, but the victims that they've created as a result of their twisted mindset. And unfortunately, when you've got this history of this pattern of behavior, and this is the problem that's going to get me into trouble, but it's not just the Shabbat synagogue and the sewers in New York City. It is not just Tav Lahore in the jungles of Guatemala. They have a history of this exact pattern of ritual human sacrifice of children going back 2,000 years, and nobody wants to actually address that part of the conversation when you got people like Nick Fuentes out there trying to say, well, was Jeffrey Epstein really innocent? Like, no, he fucking wasn't. Shut the fuck up. Right. No, he wasn't. These people were eating the flesh of children out on a private island, and everybody wants to pretend it was just women trying to get in with hot celebrities. And like, no, they were doing actual ritual human sacrifice. And the fact of the matter is, the media has gone out of their way to avoid talking about which gods Epstein worshipped, because it would out all gods that these people all worship. And that would be the end of it.
And
That's
that
what
includes the alternative media. The alternative media went full bore, since desensitizing lots of people, and they do it now. They get waves of people coming in because on the world stage, it's a clown show, man. I mean, you got Biden coming in, falling upstairs, and he's just like the biggest joke. It's like the elites are just putting it out there that they can do whatever they want. There's nothing you're going to do about it, can do about it, yada, yada, yada. Then you have Trump come in on all these promises, and how many has he actually fulfilled? Not a damn one of them, really. Maybe a couple small ones, but he's not fucking bringing peace. He's turned the Department of Defense into the Department of War. He's going to war with Venezuela. I think Maduro said that he'd take 100 of his guys and just flee if they let him. No, he'd rather go to war and fucking go in there and get U.S. troops on the ground. He's giving more money to Ukraine than Biden administration ever gave. All this stuff is going on, and people are like, what the fuck is going on? So then they come to the podcasters, they come to the alternative media, and they ain't telling you any of this shit. Half of them are telling you that the magical fairy dust military behind the scenes is saving everybody. You didn't know? Everybody's clones and actors. Haha, it's all good guys playing bad guys just to wake up the normies. As the jabs continue to roll out, mRNA continues to expand. The technology with AI is growing at a nuclear pace because it's like a nuclear arms race now, but it's AI version, and they're going as fast as they can in every country because they have to. If we don't, then we'll fall behind the other countries when it's all lockstep and all controlled by the same master.
Yeah, and I think a large part of the reason why they let AI be unfiltered out in the public was specifically so they could polish it back, figure out where their vulnerabilities were, and then release the more sanitized version for the rest of us. You know, it's Bob Ross.
Yeah, dude, Bob Ross. And then there's some people that say, and there's a conspiracy around Bob Ross that he's a serial killer.
yeah, you know, and that's
Did you hear that?
I've heard that before, and honestly, it's one of those things where like I've seen so many different images. I've never checked Bob Ross's. I'm not gonna lie, but this is why I say this is why the ciphers exist. Go check Bob. If you're curious if Bob Ross was a serial killer or not, go and check all of his paintings and put them in the mirror and see if they come out of Satanism.
Right, and that's the thing. This is what we can do. So when you talk about even these alternative media, like you've shown me just a couple. I heard that you did David Icke. Or Ike, however you say it.
I did David Icke. I've done Alex Jones. I've done Joe Rogan.
And you see these exact same things with their photography, right?
Yeah.
So that's like, I don't know how much farther we'll go on your presentation, and I'm not rushing you. But we're going to get to the point where we can ask them to do a couple people, and we'll do a little just freestyle where request. I think somebody did put one in, and I can't remember what it was. So hold that till we get to that point, and then please put them into the chat. But we can take a look at some of these asshats and alternative media that aren't telling you this. Like I said, half of them are keeping you distracted with the false flags and all the bullshit that has to do with political theater. Oh, Trump's getting rid of funding for Planned Parenthood. And then I looked into that, and it was just basically cutting some of the funding for the people that receive Medicaid and get help there. So you're basically, the rich people can still get abortions, but not the people that have Medicaid. It's just stupid, but it's political theater. They'll keep you attached to that and make you think that Trump's saving the world and all this stuff. Now, silver and gold are up, yay. And if you actually bought physical in hand, you're doing all right in some regards. But who knows when they'll rug pull something? They can do whatever the hell they want.
I think my issue with Trump specifically is like after Trump Gaza, once I decoded that backwards and I heard what he was saying about I'm the evil one, now sign off, I couldn't let that sit anymore. There's nothing that you could say to convince me Trump isn't involved with this nefarious cult activity. But as far as just to close up this little section of it before we move on to the request and everything, if anybody is out there who has social media and would like to share tonight's broadcast with the Ascension Island team, go on Twitter and tag this guy and share tonight's cast with him. Because
challenge him, because this is... Why would you name it that shit? Why would that be on your island, bro?
Yeah, why is the Church of Pedophilia? Why is there a Church of Pederasty on Ascension Island? Are you a member? Are any of your friends and families members? Are any of the people on this website members? And so on and so forth. Right. What the hell are you guys doing out there? And, you know, anybody who wants to help raise a stink about this, I'd appreciate it, because I'm always banned from... I'm always banned because I've said something. I made a joke about seppuku, so now I'm banned for another 7 days. Can't even make a meme anymore without getting censored on Twitter.
But it's the free speech platform. Elon Musk has shows us.
Elon, you say free speech when he's probably going to usher in the B system.
Yeah.
X is supposed to be the platform of everything. That was always Elon's dream. So expect, and he's working with banking, and there's going to be banking through X. It's in everything, and it really isn't everything because there's child porn and all kinds of porn that's on X. So you can get everything you need at X. Almost right now. Pretty soon they'll be banking, and pretty soon there'll be lots more merchants, and it'll grow, and it will become part of the B system. I think.
I definitely believe that they're aiming for that, like one monopoly type structure. It seems, but again, that's always been the plan, and that's why he wants to do brain implants and things like that too. It's all technocratic Freemasonry, and somebody's got to call out for what it is. It's Luciferianism.
Right. And a lot of his contracts have to do with their government contracts that he has to do all the SpaceX and all this shit.
Yeah. All right. So I'm good on Ascension Island and Cat Hill. I just wanted to bring this to everybody's attention because I do think they're going to get rid of that Church of Pedophilia. And, I'm really grateful for people to take a look at that and to understand that this definitely definitively connects this mirror game practice with pedophilia and a religion concerning pedophilia, of which I only know there to be one in all of existence, which is Luciferianism, and in the form of Freemasonry.
Right.
So that, this is to me a very big concern that this island exists. I will preach about it constantly on my channel, but the more people we have having eyes on this island and what the hell is going on out here, the better.
Right, and there's many ways to feed information. I mean, if you guys have information, you can post stuff down into comment sections below Dean's videos, below my videos. I have a Telegram chat. There's ways of communication if anybody's on X and some of these crazy platforms. There's lots of ways to get a hold of us. I make myself a little bit maybe too available, and it fucking like drives me a little bit crazy because there's so many people that contact me. Not that I'm a big deal, because it's not like the big people. I'm just saying what I'm trying to do at the same time of trying to communicate with everybody is really tough. However, I have awesome people in my Telegram chat. So if you find this stuff, work together on this. It's awesome watching when, like, say they take some of the people from that island and they start breaking them down, what they're connected to, or they start trying to communicate with them, and then just sharing that. We can take that information. I'll make sure that Dean gets it and have this conversation continue. There was a time for a long time, when this red pilling thing really took off on the internet, when COVID happened and they made everybody stay home, where people just went and they did independent research on all kinds of various things. And it was fucking beautiful to see, because so many different areas were being covered, and smaller stuff in the sense of like, no one knows about this place. No one talks about it. You'll see it in no form of media, alternative or none of them.
Yeah, none of them are going to be talking about that.
And he's finding it. And I guarantee you, if we blew that shit up, we watch stuff like Dean's, like I said, not a huge platform, but there's things that they're making disappear because he's bringing it to light. And they don't want this shit to take off in some way, shape, or form, even just for a little while. If these videos show just thousands of people, it puts more eyes on this, and people go to that fucking link, go to these links, and it shows the traction going there, but it's not their informants, it's not their pedophiles, and it's real people finding out, and that is what makes them nervous. That's what we got to do.
And the other thing I would mention, as far as we're talking about things that they've deleted, I'd remind everybody, if you go back and you check the first video of our series here, I showed everybody that you could access the maze and go up north of this location, and it would lead you into a giant grid pattern, an infinite grid of Malak, which was, again, a reference to Saturn, like we were talking about earlier. They got rid of all of that. They shut the whole maze game down because we have successfully pressed them back into the dark. We scared them because the Illuminati are see-through pieces of shit. They're cowardly little cunts. And the second you drag their asses out in the light, they disappear because they're afraid.
So they removed that maze system.
Yeah, they removed the whole maze system since we've been on. That happened like only a month after I came onto your channel. They got rid of the whole maze.
So you guys can go back at the previous work that we did. I think it was episode number 1 with Biscuits.
Yeah.
And that was on there. So you can go and see how that was there. And now they've removed it. And then Dean's done other independent work that he could point you to as far as like when he came across this stuff. But they had literally created like a pedophile fucking maze where if you did it in a certain way, you could like go into this matrix, if you will, on Google Earth, and you could follow the lines and find these locations that they had put in certain spots. And then that would be the highlight of
Yeah, they did
their joy, these pedophiles they get out of finding the locations of where they could, take a fucking vacation, and do their Sodom and Gomorrah bullshit. It's disgusting.
And they got rid of out here a lot of the puzzles that you will find some of these people post. They drop you off at this rock, and I had posted recently how this rock used to be an entrance. You can even see the white line here where you're supposed to be able to break in. But there's a maze hidden down here, and now it's not there. You see, it's kind of flickering. But there was an entrance to Malak's maze in here, where if you were to zoom in, it would let you into the grid pattern, and then you ran the maze from here, and it would lead you out to Cat Hill.
Dude, they're taking it out. That's freaking crazy.
They did. They took the whole thing out, and I had they even like when they took it down. They posted something here called Flow Charging Station, and I made a joke about it because it was Wolf We Charge cheats, and I was like, I'm not cheating, I beat y'all at your own game. But now they got rid of the Wolf Charging Station too because I made fun of them for that. But you can kind of see how there's little white flickers every so often when I zoom in on a certain spot, and that's almost like reminiscent of what the game was. But you can't get in anymore. There's a shield blocking you from going down underneath this layer anymore. So I don't know. But the fact they got rid of that is because people were talking about it, and I kept advocating people come out and just go and look, and you'll find them.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, man. I think AI is obviously way more advanced than what we even know, and they're just rolling out little pieces of it to make us feel like it's learning now, but it's already super developed. And like Christopher's saying here, AI is listening to this shit, our conversations when we've done these shows, your shows, and they hear this shit and it fucking adds up, and then they end up getting notified about it. If the people, I think you troll a little bit of those people though at the various sites too, so there's that aspect of it. But it's likely that AI is finding this post, seeing how many people are connecting with it, watching it, viewing it, liking, all that shit, and it's removing this shit because it's getting caught. Yet it just pops up somewhere else, like this. What we started this whole thing on, this new location that got added to Little St. James. They don't stop their games. They just derail a certain investigation because they got to keep telling us. It's just like they're not going to just change Chipotle's fucking pedophile tamale like that. They're going to leave it up and just say these people are crazy. It's just an artistic expression of a tamale. No, it's a fucking pedophile symbol right in Chipotle's fucking symbol.
Right in their logo. They have
their logo,
swirl. And that was the same thing with Art House, actually, until I called them out in Port Orange, Florida. Art House was an art that they used to have the pedophile triangle as their logo. I called them out, and I called the FBI in Port Orange, Florida on this company, and now it's no longer the case. They changed it to this Windows logo instead. Because
it's just like that pizza joint that was down from Comet Pizza. It was called something else, and its symbol was different, and people called it out, and they changed it.
It was like Besta Pizza or something.
Yes, that's what it was.
Logo. Yeah, how they changed it from the pedophile logo to now it doesn't have this triangle inside of it.
Right, but people still got it. It's like, you're busted, motherfuckers. Like, no one's done anything. That's the whole thing about this whole, like what we were talking about earlier, is what'll drive people nuts. It's like Mike Gill and Pandora's Box and him having all the money laundering, the LLCs and all the ways that they do that. All this shit can be out there. And who has gone down? You have to argue secret military operation, that it's all happening behind the scenes and no one gets to see it and it never comes to light. But that's not cutting it anymore for a lot of people. Thank God, because it's unreasonable to think that a good force would do it in the dark, just like the fucking Satanists do. Anyways, like
no, that's exactly right
there, busted. So when Dean calls this shit out, or when more eyes get on this, that's why we do these broadcasts. That's why I like periodically bringing Dean on and then telling you go check him out and follow him. He does lives, he puts videos up, some really long, some short, but like get into this work, because the more eyes that get on it, it changes the game. This is the game that we play, but we freaking continue to fight for justice. What that looks like, I don't know. Who's gonna freaking bring the justice? Maybe it's gonna be God in the end, but it's still us doing the work I think that's necessary while we are here.
I think that's the big portion of this where I try to tell people, like, it is not reasonable after we have looked the other way for so long for ritual human sacrifice of children to then turn to God and be like, we want you to fix it all. We have to be willing to take action and take responsibility in our own lives, in our own ways, however small they may be. We have to continuously repel and rebuke these individuals in the name of Jesus Christ, because they worship the devil and we worship God Almighty, and they need to be reminded that no, you're not going to get to just come out here and sacrifice children to the devil completely without consequence, without repose. You're going to suffer the consequences of your actions. You're going to be forced to face God one day, and you will have to be made an account for everything that you did. None of this that you guys thought you hid is going to be hidden, because if I can see it, God can see it, and you're all going to pay the price. I say this all the time on my channel. I come off as like a broken record, but I tell you all, it is not copium, it's not hopium to say we want Jesus Christ and we want God to help intervene. But I tell you, this is not an excuse for you to come in and say, well, God will take care of everything in the end. That is not how we handle this as Christians. How we handle this as Christians is absolutely, we protest it, we rebuke it, we reprimand it, we demand it of our officials, we demand it of our politicians and of our media men, and we say, no, if you're not going to bring the next aspect of this conversation forth to the public light, if you're not willing to talk about the esoteric aspect and the religious devotion of all of these child traffickers, then you're not really part of this truther movement. Then you're more of a fake-ass politician than you are somebody who's going to call yourself a Christian.
Yeah, and it really is the majority of them.
Yeah, they're all about trying to get people to not talk about this part. Even the people who will go on there and say it is the Jews, they're not going to come out and talk about this because this is that. Oh, well, now we're talking into crazy talk zone. We're thinking ritual human sacrifice. Did that really go on? Yes, it did. And here's the evidence. You know, like, so I don't know.
Right. And everybody can get into what they believe as far as like, but I gotta believe that there's going to be justice, if not in this life, then the next. When they face the end of this life, where they did all this horrible shit, if God loves His creation, His children, to think that these people just recycle or something like that, I don't know, man. I don't want to get into that conversation, but I gotta believe that there is perfect justice because of what Christ did on the cross and the resurrection that we bear witness to when we read the scriptures and experience it in our life, a reborn, if you will, life. And that's what I found through addiction. And it was a hard road. And I don't know, man. I don't want to preach. I don't want to get in a soapbox. I think what this work is, though, is super important. I think that's why we're here, to continue to do this and then see what God does in this world. But let's get to now we're a little over 2 hours in. If Biscuits, if you're still in here, I know you said you had something that you wanted as a request.
Yeah, please.
Throw that out there. And then I think, Carl, you had one too that I can't remember what it was that you,
because I love shooting from the hip and seeing what hits, because you will be surprised just how target rich this environment really is when you start looking. So, you know,
right. And that's kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier with Taylor Swift and the LeVay chick, or Shrek, or whatever her original last name was.
Yeah.
I think it was LeVay's sister, though, and she got Shrek when she married somebody else. But anyways, like they do various things, and I think I had when I had Sabrina Wallace on, that these people that participate in this, they do go through the soul trap. These are just different ideas. I don't know necessarily if I even believe in the soul trap. I've shared some stuff that Max Spears was talking about, and some of these ideas that there is a recycling of souls somehow through Saturn and all these things. And then some people say space isn't real. So there's always arguments that are out there nonstop. Let's not get stuck in that. But I got to believe that a God of love is going to be a God of justice.
I think it's one of those things where our God is a very loving God of creation, and Jesus Christ, when we look at the Bible, as forgiving and as merciful as God was, you know, I said this, I think, on the first episode, there was just, you know, I never heard Jesus advocate anybody to hurt themselves outside of when it came to those who harm children. To them, he said, it would be better you hang a millstone around your neck and toss yourself into the sea. And I think that people should understand the weight that carries when it comes from somebody like Jesus Christ. That is not just a suggestion or a soft, loving, like slap on the wrist. That is like, bro, you should kill yourself.
Yeah, and as long as you're not a satanic pedophile or a Freemason or some of these assholes that are, basically done a deal with Lucifer, you're welcome here. So if you have a different belief, then you're welcome, because the same ways that Dean breaks this shit down, regardless of what you believe, taps into the way that this cult, this satanic cult, the way that they view themselves, Luciferian if they want, Gnosis, they can believe that Lucifer brought them the light all they want and say none of that's true. It's what they believe. So we can use this to see how they communicate, because these motherfuckers are the ones running the world. These are the motherfuckers that have control of your corporations, of your governments, of the countries, and the land of this world. It's crazy. Yeah. And if you learn how to do this, I mean, look at some of the symbolism that's like, not even symbolism, it's just straight up portrayal of what they believe in certain areas. And it just exists. And people are just like, oh, that's freaking crazy. That must not really mean today or nothing like that. No, motherfuckers, they do this shit still. This is a practice that's ancient, and they derive pleasure. They think it actually enhances them in their own dark spiritual way. And this was the way for a long time. You can go back to Egypt. You can go back to all the Aztecs and all the freaking times where it was just like they freaking sacrificed people all the time to please the gods. It's creepy. Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I was talking about. What I'm just going through some of the photos to see if they're still here while we're talking. But these people, they use every religion as a skin suit. And that's something everybody, it doesn't matter what religious practice you believe in, you should be upset that they are using your religion and then taking the aspects of it that they enjoy. Like for Hindus, they enjoy Shani because it's Saturn worship, it's cannibalism and slavery, and Nephilim worship, like I showed you. And for Christians, it's how they always try to portray Janus as Jesus, or how they always try to, blaspheme God by putting churches of pedophilia and things of that nature down. They use constantly every other religion as a guise and as a camouflage. So every religion in the world should be in unison, uniformly rejecting these types of people within their communities. I don't care if it's Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, or otherwise, pagan. I don't care. If you have people like this doing mirror games in your religion that are using your religious symbols like the Buddha and Hindus to worship something completely different from what a normal Hindu would, it's the responsibility of the practitioners to rebuke it. Just like I'm saying it's the responsibility of Christians to be like, no, you're not actually a Christian if you're out in the Catholic Church doing devil worship at the highest level of the church. You're not actually Christian. You're actually Luciferian. Likewise, it is up to the Hindus and the Buddhists to go out there when the Dalai Lama licks a boy to call him out and be like, hey, that's pedophilia, knock it off.
Right.
Backtowergardens.org.
Yep, that's the request from the Mr. Biscuits.
Happy to do it.
Whoa.
All right. Well, all right. They love a good tower. So let's see.
Yeah, I'm feeling Lord of the Rings right now.
I'm going to start with just this one right here. because they're kind of
Where is it
rotating.
at? Where is this? Oh, and that real quick, someone Rum and Soda was asking, where was that park where it showed like the depiction of them sacrificing people and stuff?
So that was called Wat Sanak, which is in the Roy An district of Thailand, I believe, which is also right. Actually, I'm sorry, it's in Chonburi, which is northwest of the Roy An district of Thailand. But this is a place. This is a temple of Shani. It's a temple of ritual human sacrifice, and we talked about this on episode 1. But this is a place of Nephilim worship and actual cannibalism that they're advocating here.
Right. We went into that deeper on episode 1. If you want to go back and watch that, that's what I'm saying. Like, we've covered a lot of stuff. But let's get this is between the port of Tampa and Disney, Bok Tower. Interesting.
Yeah. So let's see. First of all, pyramid with an eyeball. That's definitely like right out the gate. And if you don't like that one, you could definitely look at how this is eye, this is a mouth, and then there's a third eye here with the horn sprouting out like this. So that's definitely a hit.
Whoa. Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely. And like I said, sometimes you have to look like that's a mouth, and this becomes kind of like a gin beard, and then this comes up like these are horns, these are eyes.
So what was the cut that you made on this? What was the picture?
The picture was, if I go over to here and we hit visit, I took the left side image first. And then I was going to just go one by one, because sometimes moving images, it's rough to get it right. I thought I'd just go with the still shots first.
Right.
Because they tend to easier tell a story when you can catch the image as they posted it. But yeah, things like this are definitely suspicious. We're like, this is not necessarily obvious one, but this is in the silhouette of a face in the shape of a spade. And then this is the nose. These are eyes here and here. And it comes up like this for the shape. Or you could even say this is an eye, and it's cross-eyed looking out, and then this is the mouth here. But a lot of this it's like I said, you're going to just zoom in and see the demon totems they put up here. Eye, this is a frowning mouth, this is horns.
Right. And if you make different cuts on these pictures and try to do this, it doesn't line up the same. So I've tried that because I'm like, okay, are we just seeing something because you're mirroring it? And like if you do, oh my gosh, there's an all CNI easy.
Yeah. It's like
when you think about photographers and stuff, when they do it for various, especially certain places, these photographers are part of the club, if you will. They're in the know on what needs to be communicated. They have cuts and they frame their pictures in ways where it communicates this kind of stuff. Now, if you take portions of this picture and do try to do it the same thing, you might find some stuff, I guess. You're gonna hit certain things that you'll see, like the Rorschach test. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, they're kind of like ink blot tests, I call them, because when you start looking from like an alchemist perspective, you will find that they do hide certain cuts in trees quite frequently. So what I try to do to remove skepticism is just do a base flip. Take the image as they give it to you and flip that first, and then see if you see anything from there. And if you do, then take a little bit closer look and see if you see, like, are they hiding anything up in here? Or and maybe this isn't the best image to give that as an example, but once you have them on that base image flip, you can tell, okay, if they're doing it here, what level are they playing at? Are they a basic Luciferian where they're just doing base image flips? Or are they more advanced and are they actually hiding things down there to a smaller finite detail? Because the more they can hide, the more bonus points they get, so to speak, for the image. That's at least as far as I can tell.
Right. And here's an argument now. I mean, I think that they, as far as the paintings and stuff go, they were able to control the whole thing. So it was a painting. But now they could have had AI software that also created these communications to make it easier on them. I don't know. At this point, they definitely have that. And they've had this technology, I think, a lot longer than the public, obviously. But I also think that they're just people, I don't know, man, they're skilled at this shit. It's very weird. Like their minds are demonically guided, if you will.
Yeah, and that's part of what happened with the cursed portrait of King Charles. Like the person who was painting that portrait was probably somebody who was channeling spirits. or demonically possessed in some fashion. Like, they're going to tell me this isn't an all-seeing eye where this is the capstone and boop, there's the eyeball. Like, no, that's exactly what that is. It looks like that for that exact reason, because that was the intention.
Right. You'd have to like do this and also go to the location maybe with your own camera and see if you could actually get the kind of shots they have and see if it was a real shot or if it was a little bit digitally altered as well. That's an option that you could throw in there. Biscuits is saying there was specifically one bronze plaque on the interior of this tower underground with the Masonic symbol on it. Crazy. And then I want to know the information about this place a little bit, like what they say it is.
Well, the first thing I'm looking at is I'm kind of just taking a peek on the images.
Green, and I'm seeing the pinks and greens, bro.
Yeah, because like the duck's beak also has a little bit of blue here. He's also got a little bit of yellow on the beak, so it definitely hits all the colors, even if they're subtle and soft. The reason I thought this one was interesting because this is a ring and it leads out in 4 different directions, which could be the 4 cardinal directions. I don't know. Kind of funky how they're coming off at the angles, though. So, it's one of those things where generally, once you have them doing it once, just start flipping all of their images and see how frequently you find them doing it. Because you'll see, like right here. Maybe it didn't do it very well on the other side, but they definitely left this little fucking demon face here in the center so that people would find it. That to me is not an accident. That to me is intent. And it's too specific for it not to be intent, in my opinion. Is that like right there in the center of the road on the top side, you have a little demon there spouting out to say hello? No, it's too specific. And you can even see it's getting the figure 8 formation here. I'm familiar with it, so I already kind of see it, but you're getting it up and down here, which makes the hourglass. And then you're also getting it on the bottom, kind of. Where you have it down here now, where you're starting to see it's flipping in. And that is, again, because it's all about infinite worship and what that means to them. And I will always tell people, like, the reason why I say that these ciphers are ambiguous is because they can use that ambiguity as a defense and a camouflage and a skin shift. So if you go through your family photography and you start flipping it and you go, oh wow, that's weird, Uncle so and so, he's got this image thing going on, and I saw Sound4Sound say that means he's a devil worshiper. This is why I always say context matters. If it's different when we have a location that's a giant tower with a Freemason logo on the bottom of the staircase rather than just some random family portrait, All
right.
Because this kind of stuff, when you look into it, it can start to become very difficult to discern which is truth, which is not, who is actually guilty, who is not. And it's important that we bear that in mind, I guess. Now, I want to kind of see the Bach Tower. What is it? A plaque? Bach Tower.
Yeah. In order for this, I mean, I get it. Like as far as cause and effect and the physicality of the 3D universe, but if you're talking a multiverse, I don't know how it is with karma, but some of these guys, man, they live a long ass, like these Rothschilds people, man, and the people that we don't know about that live even longer than we see. They live great godless lives, great worldly lives of luxury and pleasure. And if they're ever getting to receive karma, it's like I said, that's why I believe in justice at the end for these assholes. But if they were to receive karma, then the argument would have to be, I guess, reincarnation of multiple lives, which I don't want to get into because I hate that conversation. One other one on this, just because it does relate to this, is this idea, and I don't know how much of it's woo-woo or not, but there is an aspect of intention to everything I do believe. And so the idea is that the intention that the photographer has also plays into what is seen through the lens that they take the pictures of. I've heard this described for there's various people that might be able to be more likely to say take pictures of demons because their mind is open to demons, and therefore the lens will see what their mind and intention will see. It's just a thought, an idea that would take up a whole show to discuss. But it is an interesting one when it comes to the people that they choose to take various photography for certain locations.
Well, just like why they have certain people do certain arts, like why is Marina Abramovich who she is versus like I don't know some other artist. It's the same concept. These people are in tune with certain spiritual entities, if you would, and they believe that by reflecting these images and showing homage to these entities, they get their worldly desires. They get to live convenient and easy lives. But I mean, look at that pyramid eyeball, and it's right there at the Freemason plaque. And the thing that stood out to me about this one was one, you have the homosexuality thing going on in the top right. You got the bull, you got the ram. There seems to be a bunch of like astrologers like Aleister Crowley, and then down here it was weird because if you look, it's got the coiling snakes, which comes right off the Baphomet belt. Right. And it's a ram horn with the scales because he's saying who's going to be your judge, and that's right up the Luciferian alley.
Definitely have the snakes on that one.
Yeah, it's because they're not being subtle but most people will not understand that symbolism, even if they like are familiar with the Baphomet. They're not gonna take the time to scrutinize it at any great extent.
Right. And we did have a couple more suggestions, so I don't know how long we want to spend.
Yeah. Go ahead and shoot them my way because, like I said, basically, I'll come back and I'll do more on this tower if you want me to peek at it because
let's just touch on some of these, and then you can do like whole episodes on your channel on these ones. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do it
if you want. Like you also got other stuff going on in your life too, so I'm not trying to put more work on you, but the amount of work that you do pull off, even though you got other stuff going on in your life, is impressive, brother. Well done.
I try to, and a lot of the time these days, I'm also having fun, and I'm doing like where I go in the games and I decipher video games that I see them using it in. Our current run through is Skyrim. I'm overdue for that, but
oh gosh, I bet there's all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah, it's in all these games because it's in every entertainment medium, and they do it very pervasively. And I hope that by getting people who are in gaming to see it and to like really understand what these things implicate and what they mean, hopefully, franchises like Borderlands, when they come out there and they do these joke, blasphemous cover shots, people won't go out and support that because they'll know that they're supporting developers who are out there raping kids, just like people don't go to see certain movies because they know if I go to see the new Superman by James Gunn, I don't care, it's got crypto in it. Dude's a fucking devil-worshipping pedophile, and he got fired from Disney once to that effect. Right. So that's why I'm kind of open. If I can get some people off of World of Warcraft and get them to stop, pause and take a minute and be like, yo, we have a problem when every major company in all of these different entertainment fields is doing the same concept, the same mirror game, and they're all doing it with the same religious intent of putting innocent children to death. We can't call ourselves Christians or morally sound people if you don't want to call yourself a Christian. You can't call yourself a morally sound person if you're not willing to take a hard stand against cannibalism of children.
Right.
That's I think that's a very low bar, low metric to put people to as far as like moral standards go. But if we could all agree that, ritual human sacrifice of children is abhorrent and we need to put a stop to it worldwide, I think the world would be a better place. It's
much better place.
Yeah.
I mean, you would cut down on the world population by billions.
Yeah.
I swear, man, you could put up a sting. I mean, it's just like when they do these like stings where they actually people pretend to be like, a 12 or 14-year-old or whatever, and they lure people in, they just can do it nonstop. It's crazy. It's almost like they can't get the last guy out of the way and arrested and taken to jail before the next perpetrator comes to the door. It's like you could run this in all the cities and all kinds of locations, obviously, big, small. And you would have these sickos coming in. This is what is bred. Even if people aren't seeing this stuff, it's going into the subconscious. So you already have mentally unstable people for many reasons, whether it's the poisons, whether it's the demons, whether it's Satan, whether it's having, no protection, and the ways that they manipulate our biofields with biofield hacking and various things. You already have people susceptible to insanity and giving way to the deeper, darker thoughts of their minds. And so you have a freaking culture all over the world, and worse in some areas, like that Thailand shit that you show. Oh my gosh. And that's the thing. Some of these elites in America, now I think some of the worst abominations are happening maybe underground or in America, but openly in some countries, it is just, I mean, men are marrying children. I think I saw a picture of I can't remember where it was from, and I don't want to say it if I don't remember it, but it was a man marrying a 9-year-old girl.
Yeah, and it's one of those
things. The fuck?
Yeah, it's they have made this. They're very pervasive in the culture for that purpose, and most people, even when they recognize things like trannies only reading to certain types of audiences and things like that, they come to understand that there's a reason why. Like, you go to meet Freemason child brides, and there's a whole ceremony that these people have involving things like this, where this was actually leaked from a live lodge, where they have a child bride ceremony. So when you talk about the Church of Pederasty and things like that, you got to start thinking Freemason lodges, because that's what they're going to look like. And it's this is the culture. This is what they want to bring out of. They always say out of darkness to light, right? Because we're out of chaos comes order out of Chow or whatever. Ordo Abo Chow or whatever it is. That is because they want it out of the chaos they cause with things like the wars and the pandemics and things like that. Their ultimate agenda is to bring forth this type of child loving out into the broader day and make it normalized and make it acceptable. And we have to be vehemently and adamantly opposed to this in everything that we say and do. That's how I feel about it, because they have made such leaps and lengths in the last 10, 15 years to that effect, that if we don't actively push and rebuke and tell them, no, we're not going to let them push this agenda any farther than it's already gotten pushed. And in fact, we're going to push it back, and we're going to take a step back and go in the opposite direction from whence we came, which is back to Jesus Christ. I think the whole system will start to fall apart. It's just a matter of getting people to see you have a very specific religiously designated enemy. They are taking very specific religiously designated and religiously intended steps to get a specific religiously intended outcome. And when you start peeling back, because you can't have a conversation about what your enemy's intentions are and then remove your enemy's religion from the conversation. That doesn't work.
Yeah. Right.
So that's as much as I can stress this to people, you have to understand the religious esoteric things that these people were taught by Crowley and by Jack Parsons and people like them. Right. And I'm not going to tell you I got it all figured out, but yeah, Order Ob Shao, Christopher's Corner. That's but it's just, I'm not going to tell you I got it all figured out, but I have a lot of it figured out. And I think that if people start taking it and they scrutinize it, they'll see it. This shit's out here.
Right. Exactly. Scrutinize it.
What else do you guys want me to hit while we're here?
I got one up there that I keep, we'll get to this one. And then I think, so if you can see that, the Cathedral of the Russian Armed Forces. And then I think, Carl, I think you had Princess Diana you were curious about. Maybe some photos of her.
Yeah, honestly, Princess Diana is a good one to do.
What's that?
I said Princess Diana is a good one to do.
Have you done a little bit of hers?
No, but I'm curious because there's a lot of figures like that throughout history. John F. Kennedy is one of them, where people have this, what if, was she somebody who was doing the right things and got taken out, or were they part of the problem and they got the raw end of the deal?
Right. I got all kinds of funny in some ways, funny, not funny, but funny in the sense of what I got through like the Q movement and some of these woo-woo ideas. There's people that think that Melania is Oh god, it reminds me of this video. So I exposed one of these fake prophetic truthers known as Utsaba. Utsaba, haha. If you know, you know. Anyways, Utsaba, and she's making still tons of money on her buy me a coffee, swearing that if people sign up for her, buy her a coffee, that she will help the galactics send them healing frequencies. All this stupid bullshit. But her idea is that Melania Trump isn't Melania. It's a skin mask worn by Diana, and that Baron is actually Trump and Princess Diana's child.
Oh shit! But that's what I'm saying. We're like, this is why people like that, they make it more difficult for people to understand stuff like this, because they get out there, people hear that, and all the strides that conspiracy theorists have made through COVID and everything else, they go back like 10-15 years as a result of narratives like that spiraling. Because this is why I always say, I'm giving you things. You can come out here, you can take the same photos that I'm taking right now and get the same results. You can go, wow, I don't know if the Russian Armed Forces Cathedral is actually doing this with intent, but whoever took this photo, Mr. Igor Palkin of the Associated Press, he most certainly is. So, and I don't want to, because again, like, this is how they're doing this as a matter of blasphemy, is part of their religious obligation to mock those that they believe they've conquered. And there's plenty of ways they go about doing that, but these arches are for Janus, and then you have the X marks the spot, the arrows are for Moloch. You get the third eye up here at the top of the pyramid. This is eye, mouth, and this is the beard. They are adamant about this shit, and if I start looking, I'm gonna keep finding it. I bet this one.
This is a Catholic cathedral.
Yeah, this is the Russian. At least when I looked it up, this was
right.
The Cathedral Armed
Forces. I haven't been into too many of these things, and I actually saw some when I went on a Mexican cruise. When I saw my honeymoon, I was getting drunk the whole time. It was crazy, and I was smoking weed. It was crazy. Anyways, I went into a bunch of cathedrals, and some of the ones that I was in were beautiful, but I wasn't there during any ceremony. So while I wasn't there during an actual ceremony, the structures itself looked beautiful, and they were much older, obviously, than the ones you'll find in the United States. But I went to my first rehab when I went to a Celebrate Recovery, and they forced me to go to this cathedral, this Catholic proceeding where they had like the guys that was swinging the smoke thing and all that stuff. I never grew up that way. Didn't hardly ever go to church. And while I was there, I was freaking out. And I didn't believe in Christ at the time. Like, I had gone through what I felt like I was saved. And then I had thrown it away. I didn't want anything to do with it because it just came with like even worse life, which I was immature person. I didn't realize that's how it could work. They'd come after you. You got the sauce, or you got the football, and now freaking they're coming after you to tackle you. And I didn't realize demons are going to come after me like that. But my life got even worse, and I threw it all away. But regardless, I was in this Catholic proceeding, and I was freaking out, man. And I didn't want to be there to start with. They forced me to go on this trip. I would have preferred to just stay at the rehab, but they sent me on this thing, and I was in here listening like the music coming out of the freaking organs and stuff. And I was losing my mind. And like I said, it felt like I was being attacked by freaking demons while I was in there.
Well, I tell you, it's one of those things where, as far as what you said, you didn't realize that it was good, like your demons would come and attack you. When I first got baptized, there was a woman in the church, and we were out on the beach at Daytona Shores, and she pulled me aside from the congregation, and she specifically whispered to me, she said, listen, you need to understand now that the devil's going to try to dig up your past and use it to fight you, use it to sling you through the dirt and to drag you back from whence you came. But that life of yours is over now. Now you're in Jesus Christ. And she gave me a lot of words of encouragement to that effect. But, not everybody gets that warning that, when you become a Christian, you are going to religious war with the powers that be, because you're refuting them.
And when I first dabbled in it, I had a lot of weird experiences in the sense that I did not feel comfortable in prayer, and I would get taken. I was hanging out. I was working at Starbucks, and I finally was getting suicidal. I finally wanted to know if hell was real, So I started asking my questions of this youth pastor dude that I thought was all right. And I was like willing to ask him questions or whatnot. And so I learned, and I absorbed a bunch of stuff. I knew nothing about Christianity, Jesus Christ, any of it. All of it was just stupid to me when I was growing up, and I would fight anybody.
Me too.
I didn't want nothing to do with it. When Mormons came into my door, whatever, I had fun with them. I fucked with them as hard as I fucking could. I tried to invite them in when we were partying and drinking and try to get, I was like, hey, you come in and have some fucking shots, man. It'd be awesome. Like screwing with any religious person that I possibly could. And so I refused to get baptized, though. I never really allowed myself to have a home church. I kept my distance. I didn't feel like it didn't feel right in the churches. And so my first few years of it, I was the guy that was at parties, though, every once in a while, getting drunk and be like, dude, it's all about Jesus, man. He saved us from our sins. He loves us. Even though I'm a pathetic, drunk mess, he loves us. I was that kind of a guy for a while. And then I threw it all away and like got with this young girl and lived a little bit of excess again, and then everything, the drinking and all that stuff became a monster, and life became a monster. It wasn't just that; it was everything got thrown at me, and I was just like, "Dang, man!" So I went through it, and I was ready to take my life, and then for whatever reason, I didn't even believe in Jesus at the time, or whatever you want to say, but God or somebody said. At the time, I thought maybe I was living in a simulation and they just wanted me around because my life was so messed up that they were getting entertained so much. They just wanted me to stay alive. But I had a voice come to me and say that you want to live. And I stayed alive, went to another rehab and kept going, even though I kept relapsing. It was a freaking mess, bro. And then finally ended up in jail in October 31st, 2016. Had my last drink, ended up in jail, finally got humbled enough and started going back to, it's funny because the first time I went to AA with Jesus, Celebrate Recovery, I almost got in a fist fight, and then I went back to Celebrate Recovery, and it was all right. But it's not for everybody. So however it is that to get sober and whatnot. But I found some cool people there, and it helped me in the beginning.
Yeah, and I think that definitely is a big piece of it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not somebody who I consider myself like raised Christian. I wasn't really born into religion. I was a mocker and a scoffer for most of my early life, and it wasn't until I was in college and I came face to face with what I thought was a demon, what I still believe to be was a demon, that I ever considered anything about religion or the esoteric. It took actually having a one-on-one with God for me to actually come around to some of the teachings of the Bible. And so I don't blame people for having skepticism. I don't blame people for not really understanding the religious aspect of all of this, because it seems so foreign in this modern world, this secular world we live in. But I would just say to people, if you know your enemies worship the devil, then maybe there is a time to consider where your allegiances lie.
Right. If the people that have access to at least the most worldly information, whatever's been put out there, whether it's scriptures and writings and teachings, I mean, I think these people converse with spirits, which I would call fallen angels or demons. They might think that they're like of the light, or that they have gnosis, or whatever it is these guys think. I mean, these people commit acts that I can't believe they would ever think it is actually true love. But these people have all that information and they believe this, and they oppose a God, a tyrant God as they see it. Well, maybe that tyrant God isn't what they say it is, because I don't want nothing to do with the ways that they practice pedophilia and so many different things, whether it's cannibalism and drinking of the blood and all that kind of stuff. That to me is just obvious from my heart or my inner being or whatever it is that you want to say. That can't be truth, love, light, whatever you want to say. So maybe this tyrant God that they're talking about, there's something more to it.
Because they're waging a war on Jesus for a reason, and it's because Jesus tells them flat out, you're not allowed to sacrifice children to the devil, and you'll never be God.
Right. And if there really is only 33 likes on this video on Rumble, somebody hit it at least once. Get off that 33.
Get off the 33 number.
Just get it off the 33, or somebody take your like away. I don't give a crap. Just get it off the 33. I don't want that. But yeah, man, if somebody could convince me that there isn't a God that loves us, and that is all creation of AI, it's part of a simulation or something like that, man. I'm not advocating for it, but I'm saying, like, if you could convince me, and I don't know how you could, but if you convince me, If you could convince me, man, I might just. I mean, I don't know how I would stop from going back to drinking, and then if I went back to drinking, I would hate myself, and then I would probably want to take it out on some of these pedophiles, and I'd at least take some of them out with me. But it's not the way I want to go. I want to go out knowing I fought the good fight, which I believe is what we're called to do. But I understand that a lot of people have skepticism because we get lied to so much. So welcome anyone and everyone. As long as you're not a pedophile or a satanic, worshiping, Freemason, any of these, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm not somebody who's going to sit there and tell you, you have to convert to Christianity because God loves us enough to give us the right to choose. If I was somebody to say, you have to convert, then all I'm doing is getting you ready for what's coming after the Jews and the Muslims destroy each other.
Right,
because
bro. When I didn't believe, and I'm not the greatest believer as far as like reading my Bible and being prayerful and stuff like that. I'm not the guy to model your life after. But when I didn't believe at all, and you came at me like that, like you have to believe you're going to burn in hell, you have to believe in Jesus Christ, or else you're going to go to hell, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
makes me want to fight you.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not here to tell people you have to convert, but what I am going to say is, like, flat out, it is a good time to consider your options when you realize all the people who are in charge are taking your money and using it to cannibalize children. Like, then it's a good time to maybe reconsider some of our pre-established bias and beliefs and take a look at things again through a new mirror, through a new perspective, a new mirror.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
And that was a lot of conversation, and it felt good to get it out. So I'm thankful that everybody allows us the opportunity to speak on this, because a lot of this is it has to do with spiritual war. There's spiritual warfare that really is going on, and I don't get in it too much because a lot of the freaking shills get into it and they persuade people in a wrong way. But I also don't want to disregard people that have different faiths, because we need everybody to come together on this
singular issue.
Yes, the issue right now. And then what you can figure things out. You figure things out on your own. There's free will. You get to do what you want to do. But hopefully something positive comes from these discussions also, I hope. Not to get into the specifics of what I'm referring to. If you know, you know. Yeah, whatever. This is a problem where pedophiles run the world, where people glorify and sacrifice to their gods. They do that, and they have the money and the power. What the fuck? Why would you not want to fight against this? That's my biggest question to anybody that's out there. That I mean, if you can't see it, I don't know how you can't see it at this point.
Yeah, that's the other part about it, is we're reaching that point where it is very much in people's face, to the extent where you can't feign ignorance about it anymore, because it is so in your face. It's so readily available to just go, haha, they're just being edgy atheists in the music industry. They don't actually worship the devil. Oh, they're not actually putting phonetic reversals everywhere they go. It's just coincidence. Oh, this not actually mirrors in the cursed portrait of King Charles. Like, at some point, people have to be like, no, dude, there's actually like pretty solid evidence that these people all worship the devil, and they have a really long time. I mean, the Rothschilds fucking set a seat at the table for Lucifer at their masquerade. Come on now.
Right. And Ted Cruz literally just said we got to stop attacking pedophiles.
Yeah.
Someone in our government literally just plainly said, why are we attacking pedophiles? It's like,
it's because they're pedophiles, because they're all eating kids.
Man. And then we have a Supreme Court justice that doesn't know what a woman is. Yeah. That brown chick, like the whatever, her last name's like Brown or whatever.
The one who
what a woman is. She's like, I am not a biologist, or I am not a fucking scientist.
Was that whatever Brown or something?
Yeah, what's her name? Like, she doesn't even know what a woman is. Like, it's just getting so ridiculous. How do you not see how stupid this whole thing is?
Ketanji Brown. And wasn't Ketanji Brown, I could be wrong on this, but I'm 90% sure this is the woman who, like, let the guy who shot up Comet Ping Pong out on a sabbatical from prison or something after he had a hit and run. He was some C-list actor or something. I could be wrong on this. I'm 90% sure. The guy who shot up the pizzeria, the person who signed off on him being out of prison was her. And then she gets nominated to be a Supreme Court justice. I don't have it in front of me right now. No, then she sentenced him to 4 years. I don't know.
Oh, but she was involved in that whole thing, huh?
Yeah, she was involved in the sentencing, and I want to know who let him out, because he was previously in prison because he had a hit and run and a drunk driving incident.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that they forced him to do it, and he did it in a way to make QAnon people look crazy, and the whole conspiracy thing to blow up even more because it made the mainstream news. And all it is division. So it's just like, I don't know, man. They divide it in any way they can. They divide the left and the right. I mean, find me liberals that believed in Q. Find me, and then
well, and that's the whole thing where, like, this is why I keep telling people, we don't need everyone necessarily to believe. We need a portion of about 30% of the population to come to understand that both sides of the government, Republican and Democrat, alternative and mainstream, are coordinating an entire child trafficking network for cannibalism using your money. Once we get to that hurdle, once people come to understand and accept that is the truth, whether they want to believe it or not, the whole system comes collapsing. We just need about 30%, because that's all it would take to shut this shit down.
I would think so, man.
Yeah. So is there anybody else? I was going through some of these.
I know, and if people can see it, I mean, like, we've talked about this stuff ad nauseum. We'll get into. I want to get in the Princess Diana one to finish up.
That's right, Princess Diana. Thank you.
And then I know we are talking about other stuff while Dean was showing all that, but if you didn't see it, if you don't see it in the visuals without having any audio, you could turn off the audio, you could play music, and just look at the visuals that he just showed you, the way that he broke it down and brought them together and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's all there, man. It is there.
So the first thing for this is her head is at a slant, and yes, it's yellow hair, blue eyes, pink, green. So that definitely hits the color combinations. The pearl necklace is sometimes used because you ponder the orbs. But again, people are going to get very sensitive because this is Princess Diana, and just like John F. Kennedy, there's a lot of people who believe she was one of the good ones who got killed because she was good.
Yeah, she had a heart in the end and said too much, and then they took her out.
See, and that's definitely a possibility, but I'm not going to speak to that or not. What I am going to speak to is this is more evidence the royal family in general is involved in Satanism.
Right, because
I don't.
Maybe she didn't choose to have this photographer do this. She just got pulled into this for one reason or another. You would think, though, that they would have had her groomed to be this character. Now that I know what I know, like, if you had talked years ago, I would have been like, oh, she infiltrated them and exposed them and all this kind of stuff. But I would not think that they would allow anybody to come just into their family on a whim. This would have been her groomed from birth, even maybe.
Yeah, I mean, look at
sacrifice to bring her into existence.
You can look at the first Korean female, the South Korean president, the first female over there. She was groomed into her position, and she even admit as much. There's a huge breakdown in South Korea about that, from my understanding, on 4chan, because basically the president of the country came out and said, yeah, I was groomed from a young age to be the leader of the country, and I was, it was this huge conspiracy at the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the kind of thing you have happen here. But likewise, like, I don't like it when somebody else comes and talks trash about American politicians or America in general. I don't want to sit there and shit on European politicians, especially not somebody who just like John F. Kennedy, I'm very fond of them. But likewise, to me, this is bigger than any country. This is bigger than any politician. So if I see something, I am kind of bound to point it out to you as a Christian. I'm not supposed to sit silent about it just because I don't want to badmouth somebody who is viewed very fondly. I wouldn't be doing justice as a Christian if I sat there and made excuses for this woman based because we want to believe she was the one good lamb out of her family.
Right, and I think that if this is free will, that even though these people make these covenants with Satan, it doesn't mean that they can't do good, in the sense of every once in a while come out of their programming and speak truth. Like Belly Rumble's saying here, I've heard this too, and I think it might even be on a fucking recording, an interview where Princess Diana said the royal family isn't human. Now, some people take that to mean that they're lizards. Some people just take that to mean like these people are not like normal, like humans. They have no fucking heart, or they're augmented or whatever it would be. She said that, I'm pretty sure it's on recording, where she said these people are not human. Now, did she come out of her programming, or did she snap out of it and God allowed her to like speak some truth to wake people up? That's the argument with some of these people, right?
Yeah, and that's why it becomes very difficult, because you don't want to cast aspersions about anybody who's remembered fondly like Princess Diana is, but at the same time, like, we don't know the circumstances, and we will probably never know the circumstances that led to her death, or that her life was what her life was like behind the closed curtains. That is how I'll put it. That is something we're going to have to wait until Judgment Day to figure out. But what I can say is, if the people in her inner circle, if the people in the royal family, if the people like King Charles are doing all this mirror shit, and it's all about devil worship and goats and demons and jinns, there's probably some kind of religiously significant reason why it continues to line up along these patterns. That's the only conclusion I can draw, is that there is some significance to this pattern to them, because it continues to happen. And it's not just with Princess Diana, but with all the royal family. I did the Queen of England probably pretty early in my investigation, because it came up whether or not she was staying at a similar lodge as Epstein and Maxwell. But I just, like I said, it's one of those things where all of them, when you catch them doing this, and if she was
go into that picture where you can see her shoulders. Got Carl here saying she had broad shoulders. Wink.
This one?
Yeah, because this came up a little bit earlier, and it happened a lot with these royals. You can see a lot of pictures where the females look very masculine, and it's so obvious that so many of the females they portrayed in royalty, like when cameras first became a thing, are freaking men. But to think about it, like, only people up close would have really actually got to get a good look at him, and they might have just thought, damn, that's a manly looking woman. But here in this world where everything's broadcasted over an internet, and where people have more chances to see what they actually look like, it would have been more people that would have been like, something's not right here. Now, that would have been back in a time where just careful photographs were sent out, and maybe not as many people would have thought so. But yes, as Biscuits is saying, so many of them are dudes. And a lot of the Satanism has to do, and just like this pederasty, has to do with man-to-boy love. It has to do with gayness, even after the age of, whatever you would consider it, when they become a man. They are gay.
When you consider things like Milo Yiannopoulos, he said that it's an act of, like, it's a trial. It's like a trial of or what is it? It's like an American experience for every young gay boy to have sex with an older man. And this all stems back to things like Hermes worship. And Hermes, who was the messenger of the god, was known for transcending boundaries, perhaps moral boundaries, and things of that nature. And, I'm not going to be able to tell you specifically where I picked this up from, but from my understanding was that there were times in cults of Hermes in times in ages past where they would go up on the mountains, and part of that transcending moral boundaries was older men of the cult having sex with younger children, right? And Hermes was known for having the lightning bolts on his helmet and the wings on his shoes. Mercury. So, I definitely think that there is a religious significance to the pedophilia aspect, and yes, to the man and female transition. I don't know if that's necessarily what's going on with Princess Diana or not. I try really hard not to comment onto who I think is MTF or F to M, because I don't think it makes a large difference in the big grand scheme of things, because they're all going to burn in hell for covering up cannibalism. And to me, it's more important to verify them as devil worshippers, because that is the bigger elephant in the room than as to whether or not they're a tranny. If we can prove they're a tranny as part of the fact that they're a devil worshipper, that's one thing. But for me,
I'm not going to lie. It doesn't make a damn difference whether or not this is a man or a woman. What matters is, are they putting demons in the mirrors consistently, and were they part of the club or not? You know? And I don't know if I got the answer for that. I'm not going to front with people. I'm not going to tell you I have definitively yes. What I can say is that it is weird that she's using the same symbols as the cult, and that, you know, her death was definitely significantly suspicious, and she died under very strange circumstances. So I'm willing to go as far as to say that I think it was a cult killing. I don't think there's any question in that. So I don't think that's controversial. But I think, like I said, seeing things like this, where now it's the checkerboard floor over here, and it's all in an ink blot test. Is there something hidden in this imagery? I don't know. But we won't know if we don't look. And that's why you take it and you peek. Maybe this is one that isn't anything, but you can kind of see there's pink and green up here and the lights. So
pink
I don't know.
With the checkerboard and going into the infinite.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now this to most people is probably nothing, but to me, this could be eye, this could be eye, and then this is the cone head. Because that could be very easily interpreted as a gray. But it's, again, that's the whole level of scrutiny and where people's lines are going to be different. I'd only see now it's like a four tall way, and that when we flip it up and down, you're going to start seeing like an eyeball made out of the pink and green kind of. But
right, and who knows? I mean, you could make so many speculations on this, but like that's what I'm saying. Like this is why this is important. Obviously, she was involved in this cult. How much she was forced or mind controlled, that's what the question is. And maybe she had already like done her part of expanding their bloodline the way that they wanted her bloodline to be a part of theirs. And so she had given birth, she had been a mother, and her time had passed, and she had an expiration. And at that point, maybe she flipped out and started telling the truth. We don't know any of that, but we can tell you that this whole freaking thing that they got going on with the Royals, yes, definitely. You could get into the arguments about whether or not it was reptilians, male to female, female to male, all that kind of stuff. And that's sometimes fun to talk about. But overall, we just got to know that it's definitely a part of this satanic pedophilia cult.
yeah,
I mean, you can go to freaking, what was that psycho that worked for the BBC? Jimmy Savile.
Jimmy Savile. Yeah, Jimmy Savile. He was like the knighted pedophile.
And now the king that was friends with him or whatever, weren't they friends?
Yeah.
Now he's the king. Why?
Yep.
And there's no justice.
And that's exactly why I keep telling people, like, this doesn't stop until people realize that these kinds of people who believe themselves to be gods above reproach, who truly believe that they have ascended the mortal plane and that they are gods living among men, they're never going to relinquish power willingly, and you're going to have to force it from their hands, guns in hand.
Right.
People don't like hearing that, and I get fed jacketed a lot for saying it. But I have to be honest about this because I really believe there are very few peaceful resolutions to this problem. And ultimately, all of them lead up to one final objective, which is these people got to hang, and they're not going to want to hang willingly. That's what it comes down to. The people who did this, who committed treason against this country by taking our money and using it to traffic children into the hands of cannibals, they have to hang. And if the government wants to protect them, then the government needs to get damned.
Yep, that's where we got to wake up a certain amount of people in order to have the numbers to even have like a chance to make it.
And that all started.
Some will have is that, especially on this channel, as we learn about the biodigital convergence, is that they already have the ability to tap into us and just turn us all off. So if a mass even made a stand and was making a charge, they could just wipe us the fuck out.
And see, that's the whole thing, though, where I tell people, this is why, listen to Patrick Henry. Listen what he said when we talked about the British and how much more munitions and how much better armed the British were than the American soldiers. Just because these people are more equipped than us doesn't mean we cower from the conflict. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because these people
I make a similar thing where I make the stand even if they're going to slaughter us, because if they're going to slaughter us with that technology, at least they're going to perhaps expose that technology to the world. Now they'll probably cover it up, find ways to explain it away, and people are so dumb they'll believe it. But if they're just going to turn us off, like we're like remote controlled, like they arguably can when you get into what the ability is at this point with technology. That's the problem with why we've allowed it to get to this point. Now, I guess apparently it was supposed to get to this point, or it was always known by God, the Almighty of all knowing, was known it was going to get to this point. But we didn't say, no, we do not consent all the way up until this. And now they have the technology where they can tap into our bodies and give us turbo cancer, give us illness, give us sickness, give us death.
And it's just one of those things. So just remember, and this is something that everything they can do is a perverted recreation and mockery of what God can do. And this is why I do say it is important that we bring the conversation back to Jesus Christ and the power thereof. Because Jesus Christ can rebuke these people. And I tell you firsthand, if these people come into your head with intrusive thoughts, if they come into your body and try to take control over it, the one thing... Why is it that when there's demonic possession rituals, why is it that when people get abducted by aliens, they are similar reports that these entities cower in the name of Christ? It's because these people know which God is the real God. They don't want to admit it, but at the end of the day, they answer to Jesus Christ. And if we repent and rebuke these people outright in the name of God Almighty, in the glory of Christ, they lose. Hands down.
I can say, coming from a lot of demonic possession or oppression, whatever it was, the name of Jesus was the only one that turned off a lot of that demonic activity that was influencing me. Not saying it always does, because I think there's technology involved now too, but when I was coming out of it at first, that's what it took. That's why I held on to my faith. But I want to have this conversation when you get back, Biscuits, because this one we were having a little bit of a discussion on the phone. These royals are still living in a feudal world where they are the lords and ladies. They worship the bloodlines of Nephilim. I want to get into this Nephilim talk.
Yeah,
we talk about, what are the fallen angels able to do? What are they able to create in labs when it comes to what people call aliens or these other creatures, fallen angels, Nephilim, and that kind of bloodlines and those kinds of manipulations of the genetics. Pamela, if you have not seen Dean yet, I don't know how you haven't, but this is a 4th video we've done, and this is how the cult communicates with photography, with art, and they've been doing it for thousands of years. What Dean is doing here is he's taking pictures, flipping it, and you will see communications in those manipulations of the photography, and this is how they communicate with each other, also with the colors, as we're talking about, the greens and the pinks, everlasting life, through sex magic, basically, like you can...
Sex and fertility,
right?
That's what Aleister Crowley taught these people. Is that basically Aleister Crowley was an alchemist and astrologer, and he is like the high priest of this cult. This is like their grand pope, so to speak. And Aleister Crowley summoned an entity called Lom, and Lom told these people, today they call us angels and demons, tomorrow they'll call us something else. Now you can see Lom is like a cone-headed alien with slit eyes instead of the big black beady eyes. And the reason why I bring up the alien and the demon reference is because both demonic possession and alien abduction share one thing in common, and that is the breaking of the root chakra. And I guess the second thing they have in common is that they also both cower away from the name of Jesus Christ. When we look at the kind of methodology that Aleister Crowley taught these people in terms of the cult of Thelma, the Order of Thelma, and Jack Parsons, and how NASA got formed, you start to learn that these people believe that by having sex with the youth and drinking their blood, they can extend their own existence and pursue their own worldly desires in a spiritually empowered version of themselves. As crazy as that sounds, unfortunately, it's not just one or two of them that believe this. And the evidence is all just a mirror flip away for anybody who has a scrutinizing mind to take their photographies out and put them in the mirror.
Yes.
And just take it and look and see what you see. And I'm not telling you which celebrities to do it to, but I will tell you, everybody in Hollywood, all the music industry, every gaming, if we're talking video game covers, all of them start doing this exact pattern of behavior where you get the pyramid in black and then the eyes right there. Like that's too specific of a pattern for it to just keep happening one after the other, time after time after time, over thousands and thousands of images. And they expect us just to kind of chalk it up to coincidence and say, well, I guess this could just happen by accident. I don't believe that.
I don't believe that this does happen by accident. I think this is a cipher that they're full well aware of and that they're using to deploy and to communicate with one another in a manner that the general audience and the general public remains blissfully unaware, just like phonetic reversal. And it's a method of them attacking your subconscious a lot of the time when they're flashing images at you in quick succession, like they do in video games or anime or movies. And then they give you a reaction shot. A lot of that is a form of brainwashing. It's a form of hypnosis. It's a form of programming your subliminal mind to behave in a certain manner. And they know this, and they notice, and they keep aware of which of them are out there doing this. Because I tell you, the second you can check my Rumble, when
gosh, that demon! Oh my gosh, some of the stuff you see sometimes in this just pops out at you, and it scares the crap out of you.
Because
the one right between all the pink flowers, go up a little bit.
Yeah, like this guy right here.
That guy right there, freaking zoom in a little bit more.
Yeah. You can
look at that face.
I smile.
That is a creepy alien, demonic looking freaking.
Yeah, and then you got the.
Like it even has a crown on its freaking head.
Yep, the white crown, which also becomes a second face here, where it becomes cone head from here to here. Then you got the tusks here. This is eye, horn, and it branches out like this. And look, if you look real careful, it's a pentagram on the fucking crown.
Right.
So like it's right. Things like that's where it becomes way too detailed, way too specific for that to just be an accident. And exactly. It's one of those things where I can't help that this is such an obvious cipher. I can only tell people what it is and hope that they will take an interest and a curiosity to go out and scrutinize this and take their personal idols, whichever they may be, whether it's a politician, a celebrity, what have you, a media man, I don't know, go out and just say, hey, is this person being completely forthright with me? Is this person really as honest as they say they are? And I'm advocating, I don't care what their religion is. I don't care what they proclaim. If they say they're a Catholic, if they say they're a Christian, I don't care. If anybody you allow into your inner circle of inner thought, that you allow to influence the way you think, you should be checking their mirrors to make sure they're not a Luciferian liar. That's how strict I am about this. And if you can and you have an ear for it, you should take their audio clips and check their phonetic reversals as well, because you will find them. And when you catch them doing it in their own words, in their own photography like this, it becomes so much more difficult to just chalk it up to a big happenstance. You know, I wish I had a more clear way to communicate this in a way that would make people understand it. I'm not the best at describing the process and alleviating any confusion about it. I'm not a teacher, but if somebody came along who has the charisma, who actually could like understand this process and then communicate it to people who may not understand these esoteric concepts so much, we would be golden. They would be done. Because they use this so frequently. I'm telling you, man, you are going to find them everywhere once you start doing it, because they're not subtle. They're really, really not. And it just happens at a rate of frequency that is far too high to be chalked up to coincidence. So, I wish out of this, if there's one thing I would like for my investigation to press forward, it is that people, if I could raise enlightenment about one topic, it's that we need to learn to scrutinize the reflections and the reversals of our enemies, because they are most certainly using them to hide in plain sight.
Right. And interestingly enough, so Pamela here is ex-wife of David Icke, and you did a full breakdown. So Pamela, you need to go over to Dean's site and see his full breakdown that he did on David Icke. And a lot of you are asking now, so we're going to eventually start wrapping up here, because when people see that these videos are super long, sometimes I think they just don't even try to watch them because they're too long for them. But this Pamela's ex-wife of David Icke, and Dean broke him down big time. And then one last thing, just because I think you're funny, Pamela, but Pamela just wants to make sure that everybody knows, because she knows for sure that Diana was a woman.
There you go. There you go.
If you got to talk to Pamela, you'd love her, dude. She's great.
No, that's awesome.
I think it is funny. She's not a believer. She's like, she died believing in Jesus. That's okay.
Well, and like I said,
you have free will. You get to believe what you want. And I know you don't care for the Christianity stuff or the Jesus stuff, but it's
yeah. And this is why I tell people, like, listen, all I can do is hope that through my investigation, you know, you understand who led me to the conclusions that I drew, and that I hope that, you know, whatever your experience with Jesus Christ has been in the past, that this will give you an opportunity to have a new relationship with him moving forward in the future, because this is, you know, like, I mean, this is David Icke's book cover, and you can see he put a reptilian eye, then there's a mouth here, and then there's horns, and then between the horns there's an eyeball and an eyeball, and this guy is supposed to be super based, but if you look, it's blue, yellow, pink, and green. He did that shit on purpose, and it's they do this all the time. I can't stress to you guys how frequent this stupid process is to them. Once this goes viral, it's game over, because every single one of the liars out there that does this is one of them.
He saved you once for all time, Pamela. I won't get into that. I'm just teasing. I've worked with Pamela and talked with her plenty. I look forward, Pamela coming back on, hopefully after the holidays, get a new computer, and we'll make that happen. And I look forward to it. Pamela claims to have seen shape-shifting reptilian 2 times. Was with David Icke when he went and saw Credo Mutwa. She's got some amazing stories, though, and an awesome spirit. We're similar in some ways with our sense of humor. There's some when I do a show with you again, Pamela, we'll have to share some of that. I just think it's funny. Yeah, but these breakdowns of David Icke are. I haven't watched the whole full one, but right here he's showing you some of the things that.
You can just take his book covers, and when you do, you'll find that they're all doing this stuff, man. Like, and again, it's the green and the pink, the blue and the yellow, UFO TV, right? Because it's about law and aliens. It's not about actual, like, oh, you know, he believes in aliens. It's about he believes in demons, and these demons present themselves as aliens. Unfortunately, that's going to be a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. But, you know, like, listen, he's the one putting evil eyes out here. He's the one who's putting demons in his mirrors on his book covers. And I asked him about it, and he hasn't wrote me back or nothing, because all of them are all too happy to ignore this and be like, no, that's just schizophrenia. Like, okay, you keep telling me that. It's not going to make it any more true than the first people who said it. But, you know, you keep chalking patterns of behavior up to nothing, I'm sure. You know, and that's the sad part. That's all it takes for them to get away with stuff like this, where he's clearly showing you, like, this is about, again, what Madonna did on the ladder when she was at the Eurovision in 2019. It's the same concept. They're doing the Adam and God pose here, because they're telling you that they believe they're going to ascend to godhood through AI, through technology, combining it with the religious practice of worshiping demons. And they're not even really subtle about it, because, I mean, if you look at this one, it's eye, mouth, and he's wearing a triangle hat like he's freaking Aleister Crowley. So I used to have a lot of respect for people on InfoWars when I was baby red pill. I used to have a lot of respect for a lot of people in the alt-right who were trying to, I thought at the time, tell the truth about a lot of things. But I just found so many of them are keeping very obvious and very, you know, they use it so frequently, there's no way they're not aware of it. And then they sit there and they pretend, because it benefits them immensely, to not talk about the fact that these people are worshiping the devil out here.
Right. It was like when I first got into the truther movement or whatever, I thought everything was being taken down. So people were telling the truth, and they were able to tell the truth because the bad guys were taken down. Well, now that you know that's not the case, and you can just see it in the world, you can see how this has just continued on for years and years. There's still a war, if you will, going on. And these people that are alleged truthers are making millions of dollars. There's no way, with the power that they have, that they couldn't just take you out. Now, it's another reason why I just don't believe that Trump is a good guy, because at this point, even though I gave him all the passes I possibly freaking could up until not that long ago, I can't believe that they wouldn't have just taken him out. People can't get in the way. We need a mass, like legit awakening. I don't want to call it the Great Awakening because the Great Awakening is just a repackaging of the Great Reset. It's just the false light version of the fake reset that is more easily sold to more religious-minded people. So there's a lot of things to discuss. When am I on next? I don't know if I'm going to do a show before the Tuesday one, but on Tuesday with Sabrina Wallace, hopefully we're going to be doing The Price is Wrong, bitch. And there's a lot of like props and stuff she wants to make for that. And so hopefully we'll be doing that. But either way, Sabrina ain't getting out of it. We'll be doing one at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, that time slot. I don't know. I'll be putting some stuff probably up on the YouTube as I continue to populate that channel and continuing to share Sabrina's work as it comes out as well. And but I'll be collabing with Sabrina on Tuesday. And I look forward to Pamela Lee Richards coming back on too. Pamela, get that pooter fixed, as you call it. Yes, Alex Jones. I mean, it could be a very well a conspiracy that he's Bill Hicks, but I tend to lean towards the idea. I would say that I'm over 50% sure that it very well is Bill Hicks that took over the Alex role, Alex Jones. It's certainly not the guy that it was originally Alex Jones doing the radio show. The voice is completely different, and the guy had a slender build and all this stuff. Didn't have that gruffy voice, and the frogs weren't. They turned the frogs gay and all that shit. He's a funny guy because he might have been an ex-comedian. Anyways, that's just woo-woo talk as well. Not the most important. This is
well. I'll tell you though, when you look at InfoWars and you start looking through their advertisements, man, I did a few of them back in the day. One of them was like Planet Prison or something. Let's see if I can't find that one. Yeah, they would do all these different cover photos for, and it's the same thing everywhere you go. I don't know whether or not he's Bill Hicks or whether or not he's not. He says he's not. Other people say he is. I don't really care. What I care about is stuff like this. Welcome to Planet Hoax, and you notice he's doing green, pink, blue, and yellow, and you go, oh, okay, what's this then? And it's because he's doing devil worship where you're supposed to connect the freaking stars like you're an astrologer.
Right. And other people are obviously doing these, the photography and the art and stuff like that, but they're still saying yes to it. They're still plugged into it. They know what's going on. It's not like they don't know. They're working with the kind of people that are still connected into this cult. And so this ostracized truther, you came in here and you said, I honestly don't see what you do on these, but to each their own. It's a prison planet. Yeah, we're exposing the prison planet. We're exposing the cult and how they communicate, not just to their elite, but to like their whole freaking network of probably MK Ultra people, biodigitally convergence, mesmerized, connected, remote controlled people. They're cult people. They're pedos. This is how they communicate. And now we exposed David Icke. We're exposing InfoWars here, and Dean is showing how they communicate with. I mean, we've done phonetic reversals. Like we talk about, you got to go back and watch more of the material that we've done in these shows, but also the way they communicate with their art.
One of the things that I noticed about Alex Jones was when he was on the Kanye West song, he definitely dropped a phonetic reversal in that small segment of Someday We'll All Be Free. And the other part about it is, again, like when you understand what these colors mean to these people, it changes the context immensely. When you know that blue, yellow, pink, and green are specific color combinations that they use in combination quite frequently because they hit these color inversions, it changes the context. The fact that all of the text here is at a slant is because you're supposed to know where to cut the image along here to make these texts change the game. I'm not doing all of that right this second because a lot of people have a hard time even getting into the mirror flips because they're not going to understand that this is eyeball, mouth, and that this is a horn. When you're thinking in terms of like looking, and then between the horn, there's a third eye. Most people, they're not thinking in terms of ink blot tests or constellations when they look at things like this, and they're not checking the mirror's edge at all for these kinds of symbols where you have this figure 8 forming here, or how it becomes a heart and a spade because that's for Ishtar and Marduk. Most people don't register these as religiously significant symbols, so it just goes in one ear out the other. But when you find them doing things like this as a ram horn here, like that's not an accident. He did that on purpose. and it's right near the top of a pyramid, no.
Right.
People can feel free to disagree with me on a lot of this, but when you actually go and you look, you'll find them out here, and it's just a matter of understanding that they thrive in the space between reality and fiction. They thrive in the ambiguity where they feel safest because they want everybody to know that they rule the world, but they don't want anybody to believe it. You know what I mean?
That's a great way to say it, bro. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah, because everybody knows the Illuminati exists, but nobody actually knows the Illuminati exists. You know what I'm saying? Like that's their bread and butter. It's all just devil worship and mirror games. And now that we have them doing it, like at the X logo mirror, we showed this earlier, the Papal Throne mirror. When you know so many of these like significant locations to them are doing this, like now you know who this is. You know this to be Long from Aleister Crowley. So you understand that it's religiously significant to have this cone head here at the seat of the Papal Throne. Knowing that the cursed portrait of King Charles does it. These are not just one of instances where they're doing this kind of worship. This is everything to them. This is like one of their biggest forms of communication, and getting that message out to the public could completely change where the public stands in this information war. Because if they understood it and if they were able to come out and scrutinize the images the way I do, I guarantee you there would be no media man out there who could lie to you anymore. Every false flag from freaking Waco to Ruby Ridge to the Oklahoma City bombing to the moon landing to Luigi shooting up a CEO to all the mass shootings that I have looked into in the last 20 years in this country to Columbine, all of these events, you will start seeing the Associated Press puts out specific images that are meant to be flipped and scrutinized in this manner. And then you'll know which of these narratives are actually being told to deceive you versus which of these narratives are actually valid. And I guess that's where I would press forth with that.
Right, bro. And we'll start wrapping up here. MC Patriot 7. I don't give out my email. Only special people get the email, and I've had that given out at times, and then I've had to block people. But you can get a hold of me on the Telegram chat. So down below this video, you'll find my link tree, so you can get into Telegram. If you're not on Telegram, I'm on X, so you can DM me there. If we follow each other, I guess that's how it works. But Substack's also an easy one. You can send a request. Now, I'm not answering every request that I get because I can't keep up with everything. So that's what I was saying earlier. It's really I try to like stay in my comments and get to some of them. I'm having a real hard time with that, and it's going to drive me mad. But if you get a hold of me, one of those DMs, I mean, just say you're MC Patriot 7, I guess, and I'll see what you got. What do you got going on? But Whittingham, welcome, and we are going to be wrapping up here. We're going to have to go back and watch this whole thing. I love that people from Belgium and all over the world are tuning in. Welcome, one and all. This was Dean of Sound4Sound, man. Like, doing work that nobody else that I've really seen is doing. I've heard of and seen some other people that people pointed me to. Still not the same. I never get. I think the depth of what you've done. I feel like you've put in hours and hours, and it shows in the way that you speak to it. People can bring up stuff, and we could do a whole show where we just throw stuff out there to Dean, and he will just do it, boom, 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 on the fly. And like Pamela was saying, he's quick with the computer. It's nice on these shows too. Not that I mind running the show and doing all the stuff, the sharing and whatnot, but I just pass it off to Dean, and you just rock and roll, and he can do it faster than I'll ever be able to do it. So I'm glad to just pass on the mouse baton, if you will, and just let you rock it. But Dean, you're amazing, man. Did you want to say anything else as we get closing up here?
Yeah, I just want to, give everybody a heads up, because I say this quite frequently when I come on to Dorian's chat. It's just that I don't always give the full experience the way I am when I'm here on this channel, because I really never want to step into somebody's house and then, be angry or depressed. I like coming on here because you guys are all uplifting and you guys are all genuinely supportive. So I'm grateful for all of that. But when you come onto my channel, understand I've quit my job. I've given up basically everything to investigate these people in the last year. And When you start seeing images like what we have up on the screen right here, and you understand the religious implications of what this kid probably went through, it does weigh on your conscience. It weighs on your soul. So forgive me if I'm not always the most professional communicator. I love you all for being here, and I love your patience with me. And I look forward to continuing to expose these people moving forward, because I truly believe the war is won at this point. We're just going through the motions of actually finishing the game. And it's just a matter of exposure at this point. If we keep showing these things and how they connect, that'll be the end of it.
I love that, man. I love that. I love that close. I think it's filled with hope. We know where we get our hope, but everybody has their choices. It's a free will existence, but we're fighting the best way we can, and I really appreciate you, man. I think you do amazing work, and I look forward to having you on. And then if I ever pop over onto your channel, I'll let people know. But we still got to do that. We did talk about having that one at one point.
Absolutely.
Me going on your channel. So we'll do that. But again, man, thank you for coming on, and God bless Biscuits for turning me on to Dean. And this is a great relationship. I appreciate you all. Yes. Carl and Hanny and all of you that tuned in today. Pamela, I look forward to having you on. Thank you for being here. Go and check out more of Dean's work. It's awesome, Pamela. You're really going to love it. But God bless you all. And as always, I look forward to catching you on the next one. Peace.